Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of UIC Liberty TV. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the diaspora and particularly the UIC policies concerning the diaspora and how we think the Jamaican diaspora can help to move Jamaica forward as a nation. We're also going to take your questions, so feel free to send them in. Whatever channel you're watching us on, feel free to send in your questions. And I think some of you will be able to join us directly on the live as well, based on the link that was sent to you. So to kick things off, please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Get all your friends and families to come on and participate because, Jamaica's future is not only in the hands of Jamaicans here at home, it is in the hands of the entire Jamaican population everywhere in the world. So whether you're in North America, Europe, Asia, Africa, or the Caribbean, this is an opportunity for you to contribute to the process of nation building. Jamaica has for many, many years now been following one particular trajectory. In fact, for the last 80 years, the UIC is offering Jamaica a very different trajectory, one that will see us being one of the safest, cleanest, most orderly, and most free nation on the planet. But that can only happen if we unite, liberate, and empower our people to do so. So this evening, I have in studio with me a gentleman, Mr. SOSOBONE'S. He will kind of introduce himself more and tell you about, what his background is and where he's coming from in terms of the diaspora. And then we're going to have a conversation, a dialogue, and talk through some of the policies that the UIC wants to implement in Jamaica that will also affect the diaspora. I'm going to take your questions and comments as well, which will show up in the sidebar as we discuss. So let me bring on stage now for all of us, SOSOBONE'S. Welcome, sir. How are you?
I am fine. I cannot see you, so you might have to split your screen a little bit.
You cannot see me. Well, I can see you very clearly, loud and clear, actually.
Am I still in the back room?
No, you're on stage right now. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay. Well, yes, it's Trevor Smith. And SOSOBONE is pretty much the handle for the program that I do, or the network that I have, the SOSOBONE Media Network. Started this network in 2021, right after COVID. And when I started it, I never expected that it would have blossomed like it did because of some of the changes that took place on our media platform in New York when we lost certain services that we had, and then it became a more recognized and necessary and needed platform. My background is in business as a marketing consultant, general sales manager, marketing manager, and Northeast diaspora is very familiar with me. South diaspora is very familiar with me. For over 25 years, I was a general sales and marketing manager for Townhall, the Jamaican style paddy company. And during the COVID period, I served as the president of the company. On my return after COVID back to my family, where I thought I was safer, that's when I started the media network. And it is a platform right now that is looking to bring our media together, because we find it very necessary to bring our media together in light of the fact that some of the problems we have, both economically and politically, the absence of media or denial of media to some of our candidates who wants to express themselves, has been occurring, not just recently, but as far back as 20 years ago, is something that we spoke about. And that is why I found it necessary to get involved in the media business. And listen to Mr. Patterson on more than one occasion. I've spoken to him at least twice in the past. Once when my friends were visiting him down in St. Elizabeth, and they called me and said, we are at Mr. Patterson's home, and I spoke to him. I've spoken to his wife, Charlotte, on more than one occasion. And so he knows some of the expressions that I've had, and I'm pleased to, at this time, listen again to some of them, and then express my my views as to how he can connect with the diaspora. Not just talk to the diaspora, but connect with the diaspora. Because the diaspora served him a lot. And my concern is the connection. So I stop at that.
All right. Well, thank you. I mean, and I take note of that last statement, connection, because it's one thing to be talking with or talking to people, but you need to connect with them. And so if there is any form of disconnect, we have to fix that. But I want to know for certain, what does SOSOBONE really stand for?
Well, you know, I've had to explain this on so many occasions. When I'm on Let's Connect with Ambassador Marks, the question comes up. When I'm talking to my friend down in Jamaica, Diana Pike, you know, it comes up.
Oh, yes.
Okay. And
is that Diana McIntyre Pike?
Yes, country style tourism.
Tourism, and,
yes.
And she is the mother of community tourism, something that the UIC pushes.
Yes, and we are in close communication right now because we have an interest in helping the community style tourism get more of the dollars that is flowing into the country. And when you ask the question, what SOSOBONE means, Diana will have tell you, yes, Trevor, I love the name SOSOBONE, because when it comes to the all-in-one and the local hotels, it's SOSOBONE we get, okay?
I fully get that. So SOSOBONE is really a Jamaican phraseology.
It rings like a
SOSOBONE, give me, you know. Yes. So don't meet it up on the bone. It's just SOSOBONE.
When I talk about the way the media treat you down in Jamaica, I say SOSOBONE you get.
Exactly. So we're going to fix that. I see, Mr. Trevor, a lot of persons are coming onto the live right now. I want to just pick up some of them. I see Deborah Williams, Godfrey Richards, CB, Blue Wave, Misha Pius, Monica Richards, Jasmine Powell, who's our VP for Surrey, and Donovan Oilet. And I want to take this opportunity to bring on the UIC VP for Cornwall. And I want to do this because she is really connected with the diaspora as well. Like myself, she's a returning resident, and she has decided to take up the huge challenge to join the UIC in its effort to not only reach the Jamaicans here at home, but in the diaspora. So we're going to make the connection and build something bigger than ourselves. So let me welcome on stage now VP Karen Francis. Welcome, Ms. Francis. How are you?
I am grand. How are you? Again, good to see you. Greetings, Mr. SOSOBONE, and I now have the background on your name.
Yes, but I still cannot see. I can only see myself. So there's
no, I don't know.
Mr. Patterson either. I don't understand.
We can see you very clearly. I don't know why. Let me check with our audience online. Everybody who is watching online, if you can see SOSOBONE, just type yes for me. If you can see all the way, so you can see VP Karen Francis, you can see SOSOBONE, you can see me. If you can, just type yes where you are, so I know that the problem is not with anybody else but SOSOBONE. And I'm seeing yes everywhere, SOSOBONE. So is you have a problem? We can see you.
Yeah, I think my settings, might be focused on speaker and or on my. I need to hide myself. But as I said,
No, well, don't do anything because we can see you and we don't want to lose you. So let me tell you what you're seeing. You're seeing a very, very pretty lady with her dreadlocks and her African earring and her African bead chain, and she's showing a lot of skin.
I have a very creative imagination, so watch it.
There you go. And on the other side of the screen now, you have this little fella now that they call Joseph Patterson.
Well, I know you well.
Yes. So here we go. All right. So the people here don't have SOSOBONE. They're seeing some flesh in the whole thing here. All right. So I want to kick this off by giving a little bit of background, and then I can get your responses to these, both of you, because I want to have both of you talking, because while you, SOSOBONE, where are you living now? Which state are you in the US?
I am now in Atlanta, Georgia.
In Atlanta.
Yes.
And Miss Francis, you were in Florida before you returned to Jamaica,
Yes,
right?
that's correct.
And
Yes.
when did you return to Jamaica, Miss Francis? I
Technically,
mean, to stay, like fully. I know you're back and forth, but to
yes,
stay.
yes, yes.
When did you come back?
Last December.
Last December.
Last
Right.
November.
November. So you're looking at 10 months so
Yes.
far.
Yes.
And I can assure you that it has been a major culture shock for you because you're coming from the US, where, and don't get me wrong, the US is no bed of roses. It's not paradise. But in the US, certain things from a public administration standpoint is a bit more efficient and more civil, and allow you to get by in a more productive way.
Yes.
But when you come to Jamaica now, you buck up on a whole heap of problems. Banking is hard. You tell me, just give us a quick synopsis of some of the challenges you face as a returning resident.
Wow. My first encounter that brought me to tears was when I was getting my Jamaican passport. Getting my last one was from years ago. And so because I couldn't find it, I had to report it lost and this, and to go to the police and get this police report. And what it shook me when I first got there, and the young man took out a piece of paper and a pencil and started to write the statement down. And I'm going, "You're going to write it out?" I'm going, "Okay." So that was the first thing. I'm going, wow. Then I went through the process of going through the PICA and, was completely bullied when I was there. And I find that bullying is a lot. It's, I can't hide that. I'm just coming back and, my accent is there. And, I can, if I explain that encounter, I mean, at the end of it, I was so frustrated. I just had to cry because I felt so helpless. When someone who puts, or they're the authority figure, then just utilizes that power to make you feel completely
at their mercy. Yeah, they literally they literally they take away your dignity. They strip you of your sense of you are a person of worth. Basically, I use the right word, they bully you. And whether it's the tax office or the transport sector or the passport sector or any form of government operations that you have to interface with, as a citizen, whether returning resident or local, you're bullied because they just feel as if they have this tremendous amount of power, and they do. Because if they decide to frustrate the hell out of you, they can do it. And the best way for you to get by SOSOBONE in Jamaica is if you know somebody in there, and if you slip them a few dollars so that they become your friend. So if you go line up at the tax office and the security guard are your friend because you buy her a drink every now and again and whatever, you will somehow make it from the back of the line to the front very quickly. And when you go inside, you might be told, just wait over this and then Miss Jane go and come deal with you. And you don't have to worry about the long wait inside like everybody else. You get picked out. But that's only if you're going to be a part of the corruption enterprise. If you choose not to be, then you're going to suffer. You wanted to say something, SOSOBONE, before I continue?
Yes, I've heard I've listened to you on many occasions, so those are some of the things that you normally expose, and I'm very aware of that. And I tell you this, that I can see myself now because I had two windows open and I just closed one on the
All right, good.
But the diaspora is well aware of this because
may I come to the other issues? I was just introducing Miss Francis, but we might come to some other bigger issues. But go ahead,
But what I'm drawing attention to this because I'm not really moving now, so I seem to be in slow motion. But because I do radio in New York 6 days per week, and when you do Caribbean radio, you talk about Caribbean issues, and I do a talk program. And everything that you can talk about as a change candidate, we talk about the SSL meltdown and all my friends who cannot return to Jamaica because their money is gone. We talk about those things. Okay? So there's nothing that you can say to us that we don't experience, whether we're coming to visit or we're trying to get anything done in Jamaica. Jamaica is well known to the diaspora. It's the solutions that is not known.
Right, which we're going to get to. Somebody's asking, what is the name of the gentleman? And I wish, I don't know if you can put your name up or backstage people can help you, but it's Trevor Smith. His name is Trevor Smith. All right, so let's get into some meaty things now.
I am from Portland. I went to Titchfield, okay, in Portland as high school. And yes, the name is Trevor Smith.
All right, wonderful. Monica Richards says, I am a returning resident and I am back in Canada. There was no designated area for diaspora to return like how there is Jamaica, Queens when you go to USA. All right, I hear you, Miss Richards. Not sure I fully understand, but I get you. Now, I want to kick off the conversation by just talking about now the importance of the diaspora, to put it in context for us so we can kind of assess where the UIC policies are coming from in terms of some of those solutions that you want to talk about. The first thing I want to point out is that the diaspora, it varies from year to year, but you contribute approximately $3.5 billion US in terms of remittances every single year. You're talking about school fees, you're talking about lunch money, you're talking about medical bills, you're talking about helping to fix up the house, whether it's the family house or a family member's house. You're talking about money to buy phone credits. You're talking about, grocery, all kind of stuff. So $3.5 billion comes into Jamaica from the diaspora. As I said, it fluctuates. So if you go look it up, you might see in one year it's 2.3 billion, another year it's 3.6 billion. But roughly 3.5 billion comes in remittance. That's not small change. On a GDP of 17.1%, 17.1 billion US dollar, you're talking about 20% contribution. So the diaspora, in terms of remittances, are contributing 20% of our GDP, roughly, every single year. When you look at tourism, you're seeing about 3.3 million visitors per year, contributing 3.7 billion US dollars in revenue. But what we shouldn't forget is that this additional 22% of GDP that comes from tourists also includes tourists who are diasporans, Jamaicans who come to visit. And when they come, again, the same thing, they're paying for food, lodging, family member support, all different kind of things. So in that tourist dollar is some diaspora dollar as well. But it's important to note that tourism and the diaspora is accounting for some 42% of our GDP. That's a very serious contribution. So whatever policies we have in Jamaica, we have to make sure it does not create a problem in the tourism sector, and it doesn't create a problem with the diaspora continuing to remit. But I'm not sure if we're really using the diaspora effectively. And by use, I mean cooperate with, build a proper bond with, build a proper relationship with, that results in even more investments in a way that is accelerating in terms of the growth and development of Jamaica. Now, many Jamaicans leave Jamaica in what I call, or as what I call, economic refugees. They leave Jamaica because of bad governance. They want better work or employment opportunities. They want a safer place in which to live. They want more educational opportunities, and they want a better quality of life. I see that we have lost Mr. SOSOBONE. I hope he comes back very soon, because I don't want to go on without him on this matter. Let me wait for him now. While we're waiting, Ms. Francis, tell us a little more about your experience returning.
Well, there was the shock I experienced because on my previous visits, they had been as a tourist. I came to play and party and all that. And so I thought, this was life in Jamaica. You're back. And I was in for the rude surprise. I mean, when I tried to actually reassimilate, start doing business, maybe getting a banking account, setting up a business, etc. And I was just shocked.
So even though you're in the diaspora and you may have heard of the pains and difficulties, it's a different thing when you come and really experience it.
Yes.
Because it will break you. SOSOBONE, we paused a minute there because we wanted to wait for you to come back before I continued with my introductory remarks. So Ms. Francis was just sharing some more of her experience with us. But continuing from what I was saying, many Jamaicans leave Jamaica as economic refugees. They leave because of bad governance. They leave because they can't find work within their fields, or they can't find work within their fields at the right price that would allow them to live a decent life. Some can't bother with the unsafe environment they have to experience on a day-to-day basis. Some want better educational opportunities for their children. Some want a better quality of life overall. And oftentimes you can get that elsewhere. You might later on become homesick and, wanting to be in Jamaica. But the fact of the matter is you're making that decision because you want better for your family. In fact, I just saw recently where the finance minister of Jamaica, Nigel Clark, who told our nurses and teachers that they should be patriotic and stay in Jamaica and suffer with us with the low wages. He decided to move on to get a bigger wage and to be more closely aligned with our colonial masters. So I find that to be quite hypocritical. But at the same time, I can appreciate if he says, I want to do something for my family, and this allows me the opportunity. It's a good job, good pay. It's going to increase my personal profile and whatever. So if you do that, that is fine. But I don't think we should chastise our fellow Jamaicans for I see more than one SOSOBONE now, but let me hide one. We can only be with one SOSOBONE.
Everyone is SOSOBONE if it's two.
But let me pause for a minute though, because I want to get your thoughts.
I have never had problem on a Zoom before.
No problem. Well, it's good to try new things. So tonight we're forcing you. But SOSOBONE, what do you think of the fact that many Jamaicans are economic refugees and they leave for better, but our finance minister, one of the most serious ministry in our government, the finance minister, who told our nurses and our teachers that they should suck salt through a wooden spoon and that they should stay in Jamaica and be patriotic and not run away, but to stay here. He himself, before he finishes the economic program that he says is good for Jamaica, and before he faces another election and say to the people of Jamaica, look at the wonderful job that I have done. And he says he's doing a wonderful job. And the Prime Minister says he's doing a wonderful job. But he has now chosen to jump ship, to hop off before what I think is a crash which is coming, because the last budget was a fluke budget. It was a fake budget. But we're now going to see the results of that. How do you view this? The finance minister jumping ship before the term is completed and before he can face the electorate, while telling teachers and nurses and other Jamaicans of that they should stay here and suffer with the people of Jamaica. And let me add one more thing before you come in. They also chastise those of us who have dual citizenship and tell us that we're not loyal because we don't want to give up with foreign citizenship in order to serve in Jamaica. We want to hold on to it, so we're not patriotic. But him never having a dual citizenship. But while he was finance minister, he certainly worked very closely with the IMF. And in my opinion, he even worked for the IMF indirectly. And is now working for the IMF directly and has left us in the ship. Let him tell us we shouldn't leave. We should be patriotic and stick with it. What do you say to that?
You know, I have 3 grandsons, Troy, Tristan, and Theo. And I always say that, the longer the question is, the shorter the answer. Because it's a long question. It's a long question. I wish I could say welcome to the diaspora, Mr. Minister. But I can't say that because the last time I spoke to him, he promised to answer a question I asked him, and he has not answered the question. Okay? I asked him about my people from the diaspora who had invested in the SSL so that when they came back to Jamaica, they would have access to their money. He said over a year ago, we are investigating and we will get back to you. And I was holding him to his word. Now, the fact that I will never get an answer from him tells me that it's disingenuous.
Absolutely.
That's my answer to that.
And I can tell you this. Mr. Nigel Clark, former minister, well, still Minister of Finance and soon to be former, has done an excellent job of doing exactly what our colonial masters would have him do with Jamaica. Because our debt to GDP is now down to about 76-80%. Okay? Which is wonderful, isn't it? Because we used to have a debt to GDP of over 100%. And he has brought it down to 76%. And we should be cheering. But you should only be cheering if you don't understand economics and if you don't understand what was achieved and what has been done to Jamaican people. And I'll tell you before I move on. Think about it. We had a debt to GDP of over 100%. Where did that massive debt come from? Well, it's the PNP and GLP governments of the last 80 years, particularly in the last 63, who have borrowed all of this money. Now, when you borrow a whole heap of money, trillions of dollars, over 2 trillion, when you borrow that, what should happen is that you should have a beautiful asset to show for it. Now, so when you borrow big money to buy a big house, you have a big house to show for it. When you borrow big money to build a big business, you have a big business to show for it. So our politicians borrowed over $2 trillion. And when we look at Jamaica, we still see that the vast majority are living substandard lives. Most of the road networks outside of massive highways for which we borrowed money to build, to then have foreigners own and toll us to drive on. Put that aside, the nice, pretty highway. The regular streets and communities, some people can't even get taxi to drive up to their gates because the taxi now drive up on them road, right? So where did the money go? So we had a loan, and the loan made some Jamaicans very, very rich, while costing all of us to pay it back. And so they have inflicted upon us, they have sacrificed us, they have milked us, and left us in disarray that today 82% of our students are failing in a school system that is failing. So 82% of our children are failing. Our hospitals is not a place that you would want to come and go to because it's dangerous to your health to go to our hospital. Our police are running 2 and 3 jobs on the side. So they have no time to focus and no credibility to deliver quality policing services because they're compromised. Our nurses are distracted by their personal lives, being underpaid and having to live in an ever-increasing cost of living situation. So the whole country, outside of the elites who come on TV in jackets and tie, the whole country is suffering for them to bring the debt down to 70-80% of GDP, but not investing in the things that should matter: our education, our healthcare, our public transportation, our road networks within the communities. You go to most communities, there's absolutely no community center. If there is one, it's in shambles. It's a piece of derelict building that not even dogs and cats want to inhabit it. Okay? So we don't have good community parks. We have no good green spaces. We have nothing in our communities. The people are living in squalor. But we have brought down the debt. We have paid down the debt. Nothing is wrong with paying down the debt. But the debt was a bad debt. It's a debt that was used to enrich a few at the expense of the people. And then the people were then sacrificed to pay down the debt so that Mr. Clark and his IMF friends can say, Jamaica's doing very well. Hold on. While Jamaica has done very well in the eyes of the IMF and in the statistics that they publish, Jamaica has done very poorly in the lives of the Jamaican people. Go ahead, SOSOBONE. Give me your thoughts.
You're actually telling us everything the diaspora already know. The diaspora has very educated and intelligent people.
Mm-hmm. I disagree with you, by the way. I don't think the diaspora knows this. I think the diaspora just talk on the surface. They don't know this.
You're entitled to your opinion.
I know, but I don't think they know this.
As a talk show,
if they know this, they wouldn't be supporting it.
As a talk show host,
yes,
I know it's cut the facts and let's get down to the bone.
Yes.
Okay. They are educated, they understand economics, and they see accountability around them. They see where their tax dollars go. So on radio, we talk about the potholes not being fixed. We talk about burial coming through. And because the trees were not put down over the highways, it falls down on the light poles. We talk about the gullies not being cleaned out, therefore you are flooding. I mean, we have not lost sight of what's supposed to make things work. So when we talk about our interest in working with the government of Jamaica, it's because we see things that are not happening that we think we might be able to assist in solving. And everyone who comes back to Jamaica, like you came back, when you went to St. Elizabeth and you decided to build your house, you examine the landscape, and based on your knowledge and exposure, you build water tanks on the ground to make yourself self-sufficient. You make sure you have solar panels to make yourself self-sufficient. You make sure you have all the things that you realize you are susceptible to. And any one of us who comes back from there, we are coming with the same mindset. Okay? That is, we are coming from a place where we have services, and when we come back, we are going to ensure that we get those services if they are not being provided by the mainstream. We are going to make it independent. So we understand. My interest, however, is how the diaspora can impact what you might have in mind. Okay? And I normally say that when the politicians come to the table, a town hall meeting, and I've been to many, we say that they normally come to listen to the people. Because when you listen to the people and they walk out of the room, they know exactly what they have to do to make the people happy. But if the people are only listening to them, when they walk out of the room 5 minutes after they leave, we don't remember one thing they said because the attention span is very short. And a month after they left, we don't even remember who the guest speaker was.
Stick a pin. I want to go back to the point you made before, and feel free to jump in, Ms. Francis. Mm-hmm. You said the diaspora understand these things, and I am certain that they don't. Because when I hear the diaspora speaking, I hear them, for example, right now the diaspora, there are people applauding Dr. Clark on his elevation to the IMF. If them understand what me I talk about, they would have chastised him. They would have said, boss, no. Yeah. If they understood, they would not, you wouldn't see diaspora members being excited about being visited by these people that call themselves government in Jamaica, because they would have understood that they're not government.
You're looking at the
hold on. You would have understood.
That's the diaspora. You see, you're talking about what you know.
Yes.
I don't feel that way, therefore you don't know me.
Right. No, when I said diaspora,
you're not speaking for me. When you say diaspora, you're not speaking for me. Because I don't applaud it.
Right. I'm speaking generally. So what you have, you look at
General
trends.
is wrong.
No, man, you
Because
look
I
at
can blame
trends.
everybody for the same crime and they are not all guilty.
Hold on. What I'm saying is you look at trends, right? So for example, right now in Jamaica, for example, Vibes Cartel just came out of prison. I don't know what would have happened. But when I saw he came out and the response of the Jamaican people, that is not every Jamaican respond the way they. But you saw where the vast majority of a particular segment of the country and across income lines, and you saw certain movements and behavior that show you a trend. Now with the diaspora, I see trends as well. And tonight we want to talk. I'm hoping tonight when I'm finished SOSOBONE'S, they will really understand, not just think they understand, but the trend of the diaspora will show that they really understand what is going on in Jamaica. Because anybody who understands, first of all, they would come to the settled conclusion that Jamaica is run by two criminal gangs. Now, if you believe that, let's say you believe Jamaica is run by two criminal gangs, your behavior toward those gangs will be different. If you believe that a person is a pious, sweet, daring individual, your behavior to them will be one way. If you believe the person is a wicked, heartless criminal, for example, your behavior will also change. Now, when I see the behavior of the trend among the diaspora to these two criminal gangs that operate our government, it tells me that they couldn't really understand what's going on. Because if they understood, go ahead, Ms. Francis.
I'm speaking.
Let me hear Ms. Francis. Go ahead. Yeah.
Because having, and I guess it may depend on the age group that you're in, because at the time I left Jamaica, I was completely clueless to any of the political landscape, and I didn't pay much attention while I was in the US. So returning to Jamaica, I had absolutely no idea I'd be encountering the things that I'm encountering now. And the inefficiency of it, and it's just through everywhere. It is, you have that same behavior from the people who are serving you in the fast food service. Anyone with a job that has, it's almost like they're showing us what they feel like. And that's all they know, to be bullied. And so when you go to buy food, fast food, it's not fast. If they're long, I don't know how people wait on these incredibly long lines to get KFC. And that is the way it is throughout. There's no efficiency. And when I look at the leaders, and for example, I'm looking at the education minister, and I thought, going to her background, I'm looking at her background, and she has absolutely no experience in education. Her background's in finance. And these are the people who are making decisions. And so when I look at her Instagram pages, all I see are, oh, we're fixing the roof on the school, and we're fixing the roof on the school, and they're taking pictures and smiling, and I'm going, what? Look
at the fact, Ms. Francis. Right now, we're about to have it school reopening,
yes.
And a number of schools cannot reopen
Yes.
Because they have not done the things that should be done to be able to reopen the schools. But as Mr. Smith says, he already know all of this.
Listen,
so what do we want to do now?
Hold on. I have been listening to you on your programs, and you said nothing this evening. I have not said up 100 times already. So if you think I need to hear it 101 times in order for me to understand it, then you're overreaching. Now, my thing is this, and I've said it before. From a political point of view, you need the diaspora support. No. Let me expand it. Let me expand. From a political point of view, you are seeking a political office. You're not looking for a business loan or economical loan from the diaspora. You're seeking representative office. Everyone knows in the United States that you cannot achieve a political office without money. Nobody has to tell anybody that. Ask Kamala Harris. Nobody has to tell us that. We know. We don't need an education on politics and economics. We talk about corruption because we recognize it. No one have to tell me about the gangs in Jamaica. When I go on my radio program and I'm talking about Jamaica, people say, Trevor, why you're always talking negative about Jamaica? I said, please take a copy of the Gleaner. And if you can find 2 positive things on the Gleaner, I will talk about them for a week. It's who killed who murdered who. The Gleaner is a negative projection of Jamaica.
It is.
Okay?
It is.
So
But
we
it's
see
a
that.
true image. It's
So
a true
don't,
image.
I mean, I am not saying that you don't have your own opinion as to what a microcosm of the people that you see are doing. I'm not objecting to your opinion. You're entitled to it. But for me, my conversation is, what does the diaspora want so that they can get behind you?
Yeah.
Not
So
what
so
you
so let
not
me
what
so
you
let
no,
me
not what you think. We
let
don't
me
care what you think.
let me say something here,
Facts
Mr.
are
Smith.
facts. We don't care
Yeah.
what you think. We know the facts. 2 gangs are down in Jamaica, and that is not your opinion.
Wonderful, wonderful, Mr.
Okay?
Smith.
It's not your
Dear,
opinion. We
let
know
me tell
that.
you let me tell you something very important. It is my responsibility as the leader of a political movement in Jamaica to make sure when I speak not only to people like you who know everything, but I have to speak to people who don't know everything.
True.
So when I come on, some people don't know, and sometimes some people who heard me at point A,
Forget.
they're not hearing me at point B, and
Let's
some
forget-
who hear me at point B didn't hear me at
forget
point
you.
A. So what I have to do when I come on, I have to remind you what I said to you, and at the same time inform those who never hear it before. And guess what? The funny thing about the human brain is this: sometimes they hear something the first time and they think they get it. The
Repetition.
second, third, fourth, and fifth is when it. So bear with me on that. I have to repeat myself. But tonight, what I'm doing as well, and if you watch me for some time now, you'll realize I normally feed up to something. I don't just get to the end of the story. So what you heard so far is the beginning of the story. So we got to the place where we mentioned the fact that many of the Jamaicans overseas, many of them, are economic refugees. They would have never left Jamaica if Jamaica could have afforded them the employment opportunity, the safety, the education, and the quality of life that they wanted. They would never have left.
Mhm.
Now that they have left, many of them wish they could come back home and want to come back home, but they are prevented from doing so because of these same problems. So I call them economic refugees. Now, you know this already, but
Yes.
I still have to say it again, that because of that, Jamaica has suffered a massive brain drain. For example, Mr. Clark has now left the finance, or will leave the finance ministry at the end of October. And there are many Jamaicans now who are worried, who are very concerned, because they don't see another, in their view, they don't see another Mr. Clark that can easily step into the finance ministry portfolio and carry on at the level that they suppose that he has been great. Now,
And
watch me
I
carefully.
agree with I agree with that conclusion, because
No.
if the prime minister said he was the best man for the job,
Mhm.
when he leaves, he's looking at the second best man for the job. So I agree.
Right.
I agree with that conclusion.
So what for me now, here's where I bring something different to the table on this. The fact that we have a system that says for you to be finance minister, you must be an MP. For you to be an MP, you must have been a politician. For you to be a successful politician in the current construct of Jamaica, you must have been in one of the 2 colonial parties.
Yeah.
If you're a member of one of the 2 colonial parties, I am dead certain that you are associated with criminal activities one way or the other. That's a fact. If you are a member of one of those 2 parties, you are in one shape or another associated with criminal activities, because those parties exist on criminal activities. Even if it's just by scamming people out of their money through different mechanisms and schemes that they have used in the country. For example, recently, and not too recently, we saw where one of our education minister had to resign because it was uncovered, allegedly, that he has been involved in some serious schemes to rip off poor people and their children who are in our education system. We have seen a plethora of scams by our government, whether it's scams through the NHT or scams through the banking sector, like FinSac and so on, where they have ripped off millions of Jamaicans of their hard-earned money through various schemes. So we know that these two parties have been heavily involved in some form of scamming, some form of criminal activities. We know that they gave guns to the community members. We know that they provided financing to gang leaders and dons and created garrisons. So we're not denying this. We're not even guessing about this. So why do we have a problem now with Mr. Clark if he's a great finance minister? The system that we have embraced is one that says you must not find the best person for the job. You must find a politician from the party in question for the job. And so we have restricted our ability to go outside and find the best Jamaican for the job. One UIC policy says, if we're elected and we change the system, you are not a politician necessarily to be appointed in a ministerial portfolio. You have to be highly qualified and competent and can therefore serve in this capacity by the executive branch nominating you, no matter where you're there. So you might live in Japan, but you're a Jamaican and you've proven yourself. We can call you back and say, hey, we would like you to come and serve in this capacity. Are you interested? And if you're highly competent and qualified, when the executive branch nominates you, the Senate would publicly vet you to see if you're qualified enough. The people can see the whole process. It's transparent. Then the House of Representatives would vote yes or no. These are the kind of policies the UIC has brought forward, which even now in their constitutional reform committee, their fake constitutional reform committee, they will not consider giving Jamaica a system that allows us to find the best person to serve as Minister of Finance, Minister of Education, Minister of Health, or whatever, where we want to continue to maintain a colonialized system whereby the party faithfuls and those who are a part of the party machination, they're the ones who will then be appointed in these roles. Not because we don't have good Jamaicans to fit them, but because the system excludes good Jamaicans from the process. Yeah, go ahead.
We have been talking about Jamaica for the last half an hour, and we're supposed to be talking about the diaspora.
Right.
I know.
And I am trying to say,
that's the point. How
I'm trying to say we are aware.
How can they support?
And
How can the diaspora support the UICs? That is ultimately, I think, the question, because if you are unaware of the issues, and then those in the diaspora now have been made aware of it, what would you like them to do? How can they best support what's happening in Jamaica or the UIC in a number of different ways? And other than just giving financially, what other ways can the diaspora support? Because if we know that these are the issues, what can they do?
Right. Well, and pause. I don't want us to get.
Can I put in a 2 cents someplace here?
Sure. Go ahead.
We understand that we need solutions. So, from my point of view, at a town hall meeting, having established the fact that most of us in the room have general knowledge of what is happening, and some might have a little bit more advanced knowledge. If the subject is economics, somebody who has experience in economics is going to ask a question and rebut it if he does not like the answer. If it's healthcare, if it's crime, if it's agriculture, that's how we normally go to physical town hall meetings in New York with different ministers, prime ministers, and yes, we rub them to the bone because you normally have a mixed group inside here. I mean, I have had one guy when he started asking Bruce Colin a question, he was speaking for about 5 minutes before he got to the question. And Bruce asked, what's your question? He said, I'm warming up. Okay, so don't think town hall meeting is not something we're used to.
So Mr. Smith,
hold on, let me finish. The fact we're doing it on Zoom, I don't need an explanation. Okay, I don't need an explanation as to why I'm coming to a town hall meeting. When I get dressed, drive in my car, I know why I am coming, and everyone in the room knows why they're coming. They want to hear what you're going to do about the problem.
Mr. Smith, hold on.
Okay.
Here's what's happening now, Mr. Smith. We're actually losing a lot of time because we're wasting time trying to understand why it is important in a presentation like this for us to go through things that you may know or think you know and others don't. And I'm saying it's important for us to go through things that you may know or think you know, but others may not. So we have on the live now people right across the world watching and listening and writing. My job is to give them information that you may know, but them not know, or you may understand, but them not understand. So we're going through it. So where I got to at this point in our conversation is the fact that Jamaica, because of the things we have described, Jamaica has lost a lot of brains. And the fact that they're telling us about Nigel Clark being one of the brains that we're losing, and that they have a problem now, I have just contextualized for you, whether you knew it before or not, I've contextualized for you that the system of governance, that part of the system of governance is fraudulent, is destructive, and denies us access to the best and brightest Jamaicans because of that. So if the diaspora understood that, they should have been echoing what I'm saying for the last 13 years to say, but the UIC has been pushing for us to have a system where we are meritocratic in the appointment of ministers as opposed to being partisan and petty.
Yes.
And I don't see the diaspora doing that.
I don't see. Yes, and you're right.
Yeah,
you're right. I was on a Zoom yesterday with a couple of ministers talking about, in Washington, and they had a lot of pronouncements. But my question to them was, is your church full on Sundays? Because numbers don't lie. Is your church full on Sundays? And if you have half your seats are empty, don't tell me that numbers lie. So even as you speak about 12 years or 8 years or 6 years, the question from the diaspora will be, is your message resonating? Have you gone from 12,000 followers to 15 to 1,000 to 100,000? If you're not getting the response,
hold on. You're going off the
if you're
rails.
not getting the response, you need to change the message.
All right, go on. Let Mr. Smith Francis go ahead. Go ahead, Ms. Francis.
I still, talking in circles isn't going to get us where we need to get to. If we need
what I'm saying again,
the support of the diaspora. If we need the support of the diaspora, they need to be clearly guided as to what is it they can do. Because other than giving, there should be other things that they're given opportunities in which they can participate in the process, rather than just saying, you know what, we escaped that. Sorry, they're left back there to suffer. But what else can they do and be given practical ways in which they can contribute and they can support? Other than just talking about it, what can they do? What's the verb?
Politics does not work like that. The diaspora need you to find out what they want. What they want. And when you find out what they want, and you tell them that you can give it to them, you can make it possible, then they will come on board. Okay? Every time somebody wants to be elected, they walk around the community and they look at everything that's wrong with the community. They say, okay, we need a school because they don't have one. We need a hospital because they don't have one. Elect me, and I'm going to get you a school, and I'm going to get you an hospital. If the community is functioning well, they don't need you. You can only come to repair what is missing. I have worked with politicians. I know what your message is. We need health care. You mentioned that. We need social services. You mentioned that.
No, we need nurses. We need qualified nurses. And
nurses and teachers are leaving.
To return to Jamaica. We need qualified teachers to return to Jamaica. We need, that's what Jamaica needs.
But I'm saying, the diaspora also needs something in order for them to give you what you want.
Mr. Smith, you are correct. When you started the conversation by saying connecting with the diaspora.
Yes.
And I think what you're saying here, you're saying to connect with the diaspora, we need to hear what the diaspora want,
Yes.
and then
What would you want to tell them?
hold on, and then decide what to do about that. What you're saying has great merit about hearing what the diaspora want. What is also of merit is the diaspora hearing and understanding what the problem is. Now, when the diaspora hears what the problem is and look at what they want, then you can actually meet somewhere about solution. But tonight's discussion is about walking through a process. And what we've been having here tonight is we're interrupting the conversation because we want to get to the end before we go through the introduction, the middle, and the conclusion. So I have been, hold on.
I invited my friends to come on because we're going to talk about voting and the diaspora returning home.
Yes.
I sent out hundreds of emails to say, listen, we're going to be talking about voting.
And the only reason we haven't gotten there yet, Mr. Smith, the only reason we haven't gotten there yet is because you want us to get to discussing solutions before we have shared anything else. And unfortunately, I know so it go. The process has to be, we'll look at things. You come here you have everything already. You know everything. You have heard the UIC a million times. You have heard them. But there are persons on this who have not heard the UIC a million times, or they have not heard. For example, we just put Mr. Clark into context about what he has done and how that relates. That's new, even though it's related to an old situation. We just talk about now the issue of brain drain and how we have a current example of that brain drain and how the current system maintains that problem of a brain drain and locks us into a small segment of our brain capacity. So right now, we cannot reach out into the ether of Jamaicans and say, let's find the best woman or the best man for the job as finance minister. We're stuck with whoever makes up this small group called the JLP and only those who have been elected within the JLP. So if we have 45 dummies elected by the JLP, we have to pick one of them as finance minister. We can't pick somebody else who may be far more knowledgeable, far more experienced, and far more ready and able to move Jamaica forward. We're stuck with one of the 45 dummies. The UIC want to ensure we understand that. So when we go to constitutional reform, we can say, hold on a second. Let's not be a dummy again and put back in place the same thing which is holding us back while talking about ceremonial or elected president and all kind of other frills without addressing the substantive issues. So my job as a leader is not just to ask you what you want, is to help you to understand what you need. Not just what you want, because if I go, any idiotic politician who will focus on winning power can tell you and repeat back to you what you think you want. But a good leader, an effective leader, has to help you to understand the problem and show that maybe what you think you want is not what you need. And let us get what we need so that you can then get to what you think you want. For example, if you want better health care.
Why not find out what is needed? So for example, for me, for residents to return, they may need health care. I'm afraid of having any type of injury or getting sick here in Jamaica. Fortunately, I can fly out here and go and and get seen if I need to, but not everyone does. So as a returning resident, you want in place a healthcare system that once you return, you're able to have services. That's I want. If you're returning with children, I'd like to know that my children can be enrolled in a school that is going to provide them with the best education. So what are the wants? That's a good question to ask. So that we're going to ask the diaspora to return, we're able to facilitate their return and involvement in the government, the process.
I think if we were to take a poll anywhere, every Jamaican want a safe Jamaica. Every Jamaican want a clean Jamaica. Every Jamaican want an orderly Jamaica. Everybody want a school system that is working, that doesn't fail 82% of our students. Every Jamaican want a hospital system where you don't have to be scared to go into it. You can be confident that when you go in, it's going to be. Every Jamaican want a road network which is not full of potholes and causing you to be at risk of losing your life because you're going to be dodging potholes and run off the road or hit somebody. The basics we know. The problem is many of us don't understand governance. We don't understand systems. And we don't realize that if you build a system with the wrong form of incentives, you'll never get what you want.
Yes.
You can say you want this, but if the incentive is for the government worker to seek to involve themselves in corruption because them pay too low and them need to find another way. As long as you're not fixing the real problem of incentives, you're not fixing the problem. So you have the incentives and you have to understand them. But let's move on quickly here because I want us to get to where SOSOBONE want to be, which is now, down to the nitty-gritty of the solution.
Yes.
But I had to first.
Let's get down to the bone.
Yes.
to the SOSOBONE. But I had to make sure you understand why we're losing our engineers and accountants and teachers and nurses and doctors and police.
As I said, it's not me you want to understand because I said I've been listening to you. So it's not really me.
Right.
I've spoken to you in your home on the phone. I've spoken to your wife, Charlotte. Okay, so don't think I am a stranger.
No, I know, man. Me know say you are not living off the SOSOBONE of the message. You have a full knowledge of what the UIC is talking about. But when you come on, it's not just for you. You're not here for yourself.
Yes.
You're here as a
people. The attention span is so short.
No,
Yes.
listen. I know that.
Listen, what do you mean no? Because you say no, you mean no is no?
Yes, because I said so. And I'll tell you why. If you go on a program now, there's some people on right now on TikTok. I see them every night. Jamaicans talking a bag of foolishness, and they have a ton of people listening all night. People's attention span expands to their interest.
Yes.
If you're really interested in something, you'll stay on for 3 hours. If you're not interested, what they will do, politicians will come and say, free ice cream. Yes, you'll get their attention. All the people who want free ice cream will run out and they eat the ice cream. And while they're eating it, you lace it with poison and kill them all because their attention span is so short. They only wanted the free ice cream. My job, and that's, you see, I have decided to do this, right? My job, I am going to try to appeal to the people to expand their attention span and to decide that they're tired of what has been failing. And now, when Manley used to get up and talk, when Manley get up and talk in the arena, Michael Manley, you know this. When Michael Manley get up, him would talk for 3 hours, and people will be spellbound. And I know Michael Manley in terms of charisma, but I'm saying because people are interested in what he has to say, and maybe the way he says it, he now gets them to stand there for 3. And I've seen it as a boy. I grew up in it. I go with my mother and say, Michael, stand up and talk. And everybody listens.
It's no different in America. Donald Trump is doing the same thing.
I am not saying it's different in America. What I'm saying is this. People's attention span expand to their interest.
Donald Trump is doing the same thing with all his nonsense. Okay? And his fake and his lies and you name it. He's doing the same thing. There we go. All right?
And Kamala's not yet figured out how to get all the numbers there while she's pushing woke. But let's continue. So what I want to talk about here now is the next step, right? We've gone through some steps here. Now, those who are leaving Jamaica, what I notice with those who leave Jamaica, and correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe you see it differently. All these Jamaicans who leave Jamaica and become a part of the diaspora, one thing I've observed about all of them, in general, there are some who don't and some who do better, even better. But those who leave become more exposed to good governance, or at least better forms of governance. Mm-hmm. They become more exposed to modern technology. I know I was. When I went to Canada, I was like blown away when I see the technology they were using compared to what I was using. They're exposed to more effective systems. So they, even if they don't understand it fully, they find themselves in a system that causes people to be more cordial, more orderly, more time-oriented, more productive, less prone to corruption and theft in the workplace. So they're exposed to systems. They also are exposed to new ways of thinking. So they used to think one way in Jamaica. Now you find that the latitude of their mind has been expanded and they're thinking outside of that proverbial box. They become aware of higher standard operating procedures of running operations and organizations. I know that when I was chairman for the board of OICA Credit, I mean, it's amazing the level we operate on compared to how I see boards operate on in Jamaica here. So I've noticed that. Have you noticed that? Have you seen that?
Listen, there's nothing hidden from our diaspora. The fact that our diaspora is tribal, okay, partisan, means that even when they know something is wrong because they belong to a party, the blue wall of silence is there. But we know about the murder rate. We know about the corruption. We know about our teachers leaving and our nurses leaving. We know about our roads. We know about the cops shaking down every cab driver when they're going down.
Mr.
Left or
Smith,
right.
sorry to interrupt you. Can you do me a favor? I just want you to respond to the immediate point I mean, because I'm leading to somewhere. The immediate point is this. When you leave Jamaica, when a person leaves Jamaica and go live a foreign, live a Florida, live a New York, live a Maryland, live in a Canada, live in a New Zealand, live in Australia, wherever I go live, I find that that person comes back to Jamaica with a very different mindset, with a whole heap of different exposures that changes their perspective tremendously.
Yes.
And if we were to be able to harness that from the diaspora, and I'm getting there, I don't want to rush to that, but I wanted to get your feedback. Do you see what I have seen? That's what me see. Have you seen the same thing, sir?
I have seen it. I have
Good.
discussed. I have had multiple discussions before this about the very same thing. It's not a new. It is a new subject.
Follow me, not just Ms. Francis, your turn. Have you seen that happen? Do you see that as part of the trend?
I have friends who have returned. I have friends who are down here right now.
When you leave any environment that obviously, and then you go expose, your mind to something else, which is why it's very difficult to come back into this environment and be successful, because it's chaotic. You're used to order, and now you're coming back and you don't want to stay because your life is disrupted. So it keeps people in they want to remain in the diaspora, and those of us who want to return, who believe, because I didn't know it was this bad until I lived in Jamaica. I didn't know, because I didn't have to set up phone service or electric or any of those things. But it's just ridiculous what you
even though you have heard about it, even though you think you know it, you read the Gleaner, you read this, but when you come back and you really face it, it changes your appreciation. But the only reason you have that dramatic cultural shock is because you have been transformed in your new home. That experience has transformed you. Now watch me carefully. I'm going somewhere with this. Now Jamaica, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, I am sure I'm not, but I could be. Jamaica would do well, in my opinion.
You're wrong once or twice.
No, I'm talking about this particular case. I might be wrong other cases, but this one, I'm sure something are wrong. But in my opinion, Jamaica would do well, very, very well, to build a model of governance and a solution system that integrates those in and of the diaspora in its development strategy, in its political structure, and in its economic growth model. That's the only way for Jamaica in its current form to grow very fast and rapidly to catch up with, for example, a Singapore. If we recognize, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, unfortunately, because the leaders in Jamaica their minds have not been exposed or expanded beyond what they know. They don't know how to even implement a plan.
And I know that, and you know that. So I'm going somewhere with this in a SOSOBONE. That's why I did all the talk I had before, even though you know it already. Watch me carefully. Jamaica can only achieve maximum growth in the shortest possible time if our strategy is to see the diaspora as a major plank in our growth and development. Not somebody who got up a little money here and there or whatever, but a major arterial, bloodline, cellular level integration in moving Jamaica forward, because if we don't build a strategy that fully brings the diaspora in, not just in words and nice statements, but politically and economically, bringing the brain power and exposure fully into our system, we're going to lose out for the next 80 years in the same way we have lost in the last 80 years.
Okay,
Now,
I have one question.
Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
You remember the last time I was I asked you a question about the voting.
About the what?
4 years ago, 2 years ago.
Uh-huh.
I said, what do you believe, what is your opinion on diaspora voting? You said you didn't support it.
I said what?
Say what?
Diaspora
You
what?
never supported it.
Supported what?
You never supported diaspora
The
voting.
diaspora vote.
No, you must have misheard.
No. Let me finish.
No. Hold on. Before you finish, let me tell you this. There is no way on God's creation I could tell you something that's contrary to the UIC policy for the last 10 years. The UIC has always been about the diaspora voting. So but hold on, Trevor. Hold on.
The JLP was about diaspora voting one time too. And so was the PNP. It was about diaspora voting one time too.
Mr. Smith.
They came to the diaspora and they all promised us that voting would be on the table for discussion. And then when they get elected, it gets swapped off the table.
Which is the point, I think, that Mr.
No.
Mr.
I asked the question now because I said to him at that time, I asked him the question. I said, what do you think is at the top of the tier of the diaspora? And he said voting. So for me, if you know what is the most important thing to get somebody on board, that for me becomes the focus of attention. Let us find a way for you guys to work this out, solve this problem. Diaspora and your ideology. But we don't have any committee sitting down right now talking about it like we're talking about the constitutional change. We don't have one committee in the diaspora who is sitting down with any of the political parties saying, listen, guys, you put in your 2 cents, we put in our 2 cents, and maybe we can find an answer. It is not being discussed.
All right, Mr. Smith, thank you. Thank you. But let me just
clear, and it's not being discussed.
All right, hold on a second, and thank you for that. But let me just clarify. I think you're mistaking me with somebody else because I could never be. I know. Let me tell you what you and I talked about when I said no, and you must have read that to mean no to voting. I don't know why, because I've never been against what you said. What I said no to. Let me tell you what it was. I'll tell you. You wanted the diaspora.
I put it out there. I couldn't. Because if I was wrong, I need it to be correct.
Sure.
Now,
let me put some meat on the bone for you. Put some meat on this bone. Here's the thing. You said to me you'd like the diaspora to vote for one person. So the diaspora would vote for one person in Jamaica to be the diaspora representative. Just like how you have 63. Sorry?
Not in Jamaica.
Sorry. Well, yeah, anywhere, whatever it is. I didn't. Yeah. You're right. You wanted one person to be elected as the diaspora representative. And I said, I am not for that. I did not say anything about not voting. I said, I am not for one person being elected to represent the diaspora because the UIC model is for the diaspora to be a part of the entire Jamaica. So you're not a constituency by yourself that vote for one representative. You're going to be voting for the entire system. So that was my position, and I still hold it. So
yes,
sorry for the misunderstanding.
I respected that.
So let's now go back to where we were now, because you want us to get.
Let me clarify something.
Yeah.
But you see, for me, dismissing that is for me putting forth the idea that we should have an independent person from the diaspora representing the diaspora, an independent person, because the diaspora speaks with their numbers don't lie. $3 billion every year tells us the diaspora has an interest in Jamaica. Money don't lie, numbers don't lie. So all I'm saying is, okay, if the three parties want to put up a candidate, after to elect a candidate, take 1% of the remissions and use it to fund the candidate to service the diaspora. Tax the remissions 1% to take care of one candidate from the diaspora to represent the diaspora. Is it too much to ask for some taxation and representation?
But they have the global diaspora councils.
No. Don't go down that road.
Those
there's no global diaspora council.
Karen, we don't want. Let's not stray. Let's not stray. There's a place. There's a place, Miss Francis. There's a place for us to discuss now. And we never got near Mr. Smith, but there's a place for us to discuss now the structure of governance. At the time when Mr. Smith and I spoke, it was on a forum, a bigger forum than this actually. And we're talking, and he raised it, and he gave his opinion, and I gave mine. That's not the end of the story. That is just you and I talking. And if you, let's say you, Miss Karen, you say, I would like to paint every sidewalk in Jamaica blue. And I say, no, I don't agree. That's all that happened. It doesn't mean that's the end of the story. It means that you heard at the surface level his thought and my thought. But unfortunately, Mr. Smith may have felt that was being dismissive. And I'm sorry for that, because I didn't mean to be dismissive. What I meant to do was to be very clear to you that my vision of Jamaica and the diaspora is one where the diaspora is fully integrated in the full structure of Jamaica, not having one representative, but you'll have diasporans voting based on their preference in the parishes. So you're in America, but you're voting for your representative for St. Catherine, for example, on the Senate. Because you're from St. Catherine and that's your place. You're from Westmoreland, you want to vote for the rep for Westmoreland, so on and so forth. But that is all up for discussion, because nothing is etched in stone. That's an initial. I mean, you start every conversation with an initial position. What you think and what me think, and then we discuss it out now in committee and reach conclusions. We never got that far.
And I agree with you.
Yes.
But you see, the fact is, since I raised it as the main issue in the diaspora, and it was never brought into the discussion, that is my point. I am not saying you're wrong, I'm saying that if you say the diaspora, that you told me if voting was the most important thing for them.
So my apologies for not, realizing and facilitating further discussions. I mean, I don't know what happened.
That's all I said, Ms. Francis. What does the diaspora want?
Yes. So I don't know why. All right, good. But let's continue now, because we're going to get into more. So we're beginning. Sorry, go ahead, Ms. Francis.
So I was saying, no, I think that this is the point we wanted to have gotten to, which, we've gotten here now. So
we're now here, and we're going slowly. But I am the kind of person, maybe you might call me religious, but I like to follow a process of decency and order. The Bible talks about that. So I like to work through things rather than jump all over the place, right? So bear with me on that. Now, so in my opinion, because we want an integrated diaspora that's fully involved in the strategic development, the political governance structure that's going to create that development and move that development and have them fully immersed in the economy, this begins, in my opinion, with allowing them to easily register and vote remotely in all local elections. That's the first step, to have everybody in the diaspora, make it very easy for them to register, so we know exactly who you are, we know exactly where you are, and we know exactly how you want to engage. So you want to engage, first of all, to vote on issues for St. Catherine, and then you want to be able to vote on the issues in the constituency within St. Catherine that's of interest to you, and then to the district of St. Catherine that's of interest to you. While another person is interested in Westmoreland and the constituency and district, and another person in St. Elizabeth, and so on. So we want to allow you to register. Now, what that does, Mr. SOSOBONE, we now know who we are. We know where we're there. We know, so we have a block of Jamaicans in Bronx, and let's say you have 50,000 Jamaicans there, and they're broken down into mostly 3 or 4 parishes, and but this is where their interests are. So we're now feeding them the information about their areas of interest, the parish of interest, the district of interest, or constituency of interest, so they can really engage at the grassroots level. Because when a diasporan send money home, they don't send money home for Jamaica. They send it home for their mother, them father, them grandmother, them cousin, them sister, or them friend. Okay, or them friend picnic. So they're very micro in their sending money home. Then there are those now who send money to invest, and they want to secure an investment nest egg in Jamaica. So when they come, they have some money they can draw on, and so on. And so others might want to buy even insurance policy or even health policy. Some may have a house and have to buy house insurance. So you want to build a system that really provide them the quality of engagement that they're used to abroad, now locally. Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Yes, but you see, while I have heard everything you said, all that you're proposing is coming from one head, yours. You see, the diaspora has no input so far into what you propose to do, and that does not work. That is the point. Because it comes over that you're smarter than everybody else. You know the answer to everything. And people say, like, listen, we respect what he's saying. But when you talk about a country, no one man run a country.
So
no
hold on a second.
No one man write the constitution. No one man set up the school agenda. So I'm saying you're smart. You got a good message. But the team that does not include the diaspora, because you don't come to the diaspora, sit down with a body of people, okay, and say, listen, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Tell me what you guys think. They don't see that. That's all I'm saying.
Mr. Smith, I have had tons of town hall meetings where the diaspora is invited, tons, and for you to come and share and talk. Now, if I go and pick out a few of you and talk, it's still only a few of you that are giving your perspective. I have made it that the UIC has been available to every Jamaican. Nobody has been excluded unless they exclude themselves. Nobody has been excluded from being a part. What I have done, though, which maybe it's not liked, I have provided a vision. I have provided a framework, and I have paid the price for doing that. Now, there are many of you who could have done the same thing. Nobody stopped you from doing that.
No.
So what is the pathway, if I may ask, for the diaspora if they would like to engage and participate? What is the pathway for them to do so?
And
That's
that is
the next question
and
I'm
that
asking.
problem,
How do they engage?
and that problem can only be solved by engaging with the diaspora. We would like to see the numbers, for example, of a third party swell, but it is not swelling. So we don't discuss how do we galvanize with the diaspora support, not money, because the money is coming. The money comes. The money is coming down in billions. Okay, we want to see the corruption go away.
Right.
Okay, we don't support it. We want to see the murder go down. We don't support it. But
so in what ways?
Okay, let's get practical.
In what ways could the diaspora?
Okay, let's get practical. How do we do this? Let's talk about how do we do it? What do we do? What do we do?
we have organizations in the diaspora that are involved in different ministries in Jamaica.
Which we invite. We invite all of them to meetings. Every one of them has been
Here?
invited to meetings. I have been to Canada. I have been, Miss Lorna is saying it right here on the thing now. I have been to Canada and we've sent out invites to everybody. Come. We had about maybe 50 person who showed up to one meeting. That's fine.
Honestly, I am more concerned. I'm more concerned not about your invitation, about them inviting you.
Fine, and they happened.
You see?
So
It's
those
about
who could invite
them
me,
having the connection and feeling connected. When I have a birthday party, I invite people who I am connected with.
all right,
It's the
Trevor,
same
hold on,
principle.
Trevor, hold on. I know what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. But let's back up a second. Jamaica has had 66 third parties so far. Obviously, all 66 have failed to connect with the diaspora. We've had 66 so far. Every one of them failed.
We never had the level of corruption we have now.
No, what I'm saying is this. We have had 66 of them. Let's examine them. Where did the NDM go wrong? Where did the MGPP go wrong? Where did the Jamaica Republican Party go wrong? Where did the New Nation Coalition go wrong? Me study all of them. I have gone through and looked at all of the things they have done. I read their literature. I met with some of their former leaders just to understand. And I see one common denominator. They're never, ever funded by anybody. The people of Jamaica, locally and foreign, never, ever fund them. Why? Because they've been trained to expect something for nothing. And they have allowed the PSOJ oligarchy to continue to pour billions into two parties and then give them the impression that they can get something for nothing. You cannot get something for nothing. Now, hold me a second. The UIC has always been 100% open. We've had several invitations. Now, if you said they should invite me or invite the UIC, they're welcome to do so, whoever they are. But we have reached out to many days we have reached out to and say, let's talk. When we did the march on Gordon House on September 22nd, I dedicated a team that went around and beg and plead with all of the different civil society groups just to form a coalition. And all of them had their own pet peeves why they would allow Jamaica to be crucified. And I had to beseech them and say, look, for one moment, put aside all of your pet peeves. Here's the one little thing that faces us now: our freedom, our liberty to choose what goes into your body. Somebody's about to take away your right to choose what goes into your body. Somebody's about to use the employers, if they can't do it directly, to say, rob you of your job unless you do what them say. And I had to plead with them on that one point. And you wouldn't imagine the amount of energy and effort and money it cost me to do that. My money to do it. Because everybody wants something done, but they're not willing to pay to get it done.
True.
And when once somebody get up and pay the price to get it done, they have all kind of arguments. Oh, you should do this. You should do that.
No, can I just jump in?
Hold on,
Francis.
Hold on.
Point. I just
No,
want
let
to
Miss Francis go first because she has spoken least.
Having recently returned and wanting to become involved in the process, I didn't see any of the parties that I wanted to be a part of. I didn't see any sense that it made. And when I asked around and said, is there no other alternative? I got, well, there's another one, but, and I sought out, when I knew that Mr. Patterson had taken the party this far, I said, I want to be on board. What do I need to do? How can I serve? Because this is crazy. You cannot return and expect anything other than this chaos. And so when we return, we're returning to serve. That's why I did. And when we have need for example, an accountant or I call up a friend of mine and I said, you're an accountant, we need some help. Okay? It can be done virtually. What can you do? How can you serve? That's the question to ask. But before we even do that, it's just that I think Mr. Patterson has made it as simple as possible. It's $10 contribution. Once you become a member, there are committees. There are ways in which you can utilize your expertise. I have a background in education, and I'm now finding ways in which I can say I can use that to try to help, because 80% of our students have failed. What can I do based on what I have achieved and acquired and learned from my experience abroad? How can I bring that back to make a difference here? And that's why I joined the UIC. And I said, listen, what can I do to help you help Jamaicans? Because what we are seeing here, it's very hard to pull from anything here to help. The help of the diaspora is incredibly needed right now to bring that expertise in to support the initiative that Mr. Patterson has done. I mean, he doesn't share his personal stories, but he's still in court for being arrested for what he did for the Jamaican people.
Listen.
All right. So what can you do is become a member and then ask how you can serve.
Listen.
One question, Mr. Trevor, before you speak, look at this. Ms. Francis, you just come back to Jamaica. Did anybody prevent you from joining the UIC? Did the UIC rebuff you? Did we, as soon as you expressed interest and your willingness to serve, didn't we embrace you? Did I as president put up roadblocks and prevent you? I don't know you. I don't know you. We did a background check on you, of course, because you're coming in. But me don't know you. You're not my friend.
Right.
Me don't know you from Florida or from anywhere. You, as a diasporan, raise your hand and say, I would like to serve. And hold on, Mr. Smith. Hold on, man. You need to learn sometime. You raise your hand. And when you raise your hand, hear what happened. You were allowed to engage with other members of the UIC.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody stopped you. You were invited to meetings. You attended. You were invited to read through what we stand for. You did it. You came to interviews. You answered the questions. And even though me don't know you, and you're not my friend, may not come from way back anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And look, today you're a vice president of the movement. Nobody not stopping in your way. Everybody in the diaspora has the same opportunity as you. Everybody in Jamaica has the same opportunity as you. There is nothing in the UIC that prevents a Jamaican, here at home or abroad, to be fully involved in the UIC and to help to do whatever needs to be done. So if Mr. Smith, you think someone now does something right, you have the privilege.
No. Don't get me wrong.
Let me finish, man. Let me finish.
Well, you address me directly, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, I come to you. You have the privilege.
You address me directly.
Yeah, you have the privilege. Hold on.
That's
You have the privilege, and you have the honor, and you have the opportunity, if you so decide, to join this movement and get involved at a low level, middle level, or high level, if there's any such thing, and you can influence this movement so long as, and this is a very important provision, so long as you subscribe to the vision, mission, and values. Because one thing the UIC now gonna do, no matter who come or how much money them have, we will not stray from our vision and mission. And our vision says this: a Jamaica that brings out the best in all its people. And our mission says this: a non-partisan constitutional republic that allows every Jamaican to enjoy the fullness of their life, liberty, and property in a Jamaica where you can live, earn, and retire with dignity in true liberty. Once you subscribe to those basic tenets, you're welcome and you'll be fully embraced, and you can now influence the movement. And that goes for SOSOBONE and people with only for 500 dollars.
You know something. I think Hitler said the same thing, you know. I think Putin said the same thing. You can join my one party, but you have to follow my rules. Now, Miss Francis, let me tell you something. If when you came back to Jamaica, you had gone to the Labour Party, they would have kissed you and do the same thing. They might not have made you vice president. But any party you come to, PNP, if you're going to the PNP, if you want to join them, the same way you will, Mr. Patterson, embrace you and hug you and kiss you, they would have done the same thing. They would not tell you, go away, go join Mr. Patterson's party. So embracing a new member in a party is nothing new.
Well, but it wasn't about Mr. Patterson. It was
No. It's the party. I said party, no. I said the party. The party.
But we still have a personal responsibility. And
No.
unfortunately,
All right, I think we have gone off key. We've gone off course now.
Every
Let's go
time
back.
every time I talk, I'm off key. I am playing black keys and white keys.
Let's get back on course now, because we're kind of losing it. But
No.
I
Listen,
I want
I have
to
been listening for the last 20 minutes.
no. And have you heard anything?
I
that
heard
is-
everything you said.
No, I'm
And I
saying,
still want to get back to the diaspora. I came with the old sheet of paper of things about the diaspora.
Mr. Trevor, we have not left the diaspora. As I said before, you have to lead into something. So we just got to the stage where we talked about the diasporan having the ability to register and to vote remotely in our local elections. There are some persons who will disagree with that, and there are some persons who will agree with that. Do you agree with that, sir?
Well, the question is, what does the diaspora think about that? Not what I believe, because again, it's not about me. I am here representing the diaspora since you guys are here it is, right? So if anybody is going to speak to the diaspora and what the diaspora know or does not know, it should be somebody who is still living in the diaspora. Because you say you're on the ground down here, Miss Francis, and you see what is happening. Mr. Patterson is on the ground. He sees what is happening. Well, if I am sitting here and I am in the diaspora, then I should at least be speaking for the diaspora. So
From what perspective are you speaking? Because
from
I'm
what
speaking,
perspective?
I'm
All,
yeah, from
all
what
perspective that
what's
all
happening on the ground.
perspective that impacts me, that affects me. All perspective that affects me.
All right.
Because
So,
I'm just a copy.
Mr. Smith, for the benefit of our audience, given that we don't have the entire night, and we want to make sure we get through all of what you're concerned about, and we thought that by going through this process, you'd get a chance to speak to your issues. So I ask you one simple question. Are you in favor of the diaspora being able to easily, remotely register and remotely vote in Jamaica's elections? Are you in favor of that or no? And it's okay to be not in favor.
No.
Just share your thoughts.
You see, it's not a yes/no question.
Okay.
It is a matter of you telling us how you would be able to execute that. So,
Mr. Smith, before you can move to how, you have to start with whether you want it or not.
Can I talk?
Yes. So before you move to how, though, you have to agree yes or no.
No.
Do you
I
want
made
to
up my
talk?
mind at the point, just like you made up your mind at your point.
Okay.
You don't tell me when to think.
No, I'm not telling you when. I'm asking you a question, Mr.
No,
Smith.
and you take 5 minutes to ask me a question, and I'm going to take 5 minutes to answer it.
Okay. All right, go ahead. Take some time to answer it. I might have to interrupt you, though. Go ahead.
You have a plan that as to how the diaspora can vote, you're going to make it visible to the diaspora. We're going to see if it is credible, if it has any juice in it. And based on the fact that we think you have some sense, therefore, with this plan, we support you. You don't tell me, you don't give me the whole political thing. I'm going to fix the potholes and they never get fixed. I'm going to fix the education system and it never gets fixed.
How many politicians tell you how they're going to fix the pothole before you vote for them?
We know all potholes are fixed. So
no, but them still not fixed. But them still not fixed.
What they don't do is they don't fix it.
Hold on, but them still not fixed. And when they fix it, bash up as soon as rainfall. So you have voted for politicians who tell you them going to fix the pothole, and then
there's a reason why you appeal to us, because you're gonna tell us how you're gonna do it.
All right.
I mean, in the States, there's an absentee ballot where if you're in the military and you're serving abroad, you can still vote in the election. There's a process in which that is done. That is something that can be established and implemented, I'm sure, so that we can include that, because that is something that we need to have.
And you are bright. And guess what, Mr. Smith? There are very bright members in the diaspora who know more than me, since it seems as if me know too much. There are others in the diaspora who know more than me, who can help us to design a system that allows you to vote.
And that's the engagement I'm speaking of. That is the engagement I'm speaking of.
And that's the engagement that we have remained very fully open to. We have never stopped being open to engagement.
What's the pathway?
But let's continue. Let's continue.
The pathway is this. Every aspect of our governance in Jamaica have people in similar capacities in the diaspora. And it is the responsibility of their leader to find who is a crime czar and sit down with him and say, I am not a crime czar expert enough, and I have an idea about solving the crime in Jamaica. So give me some ideas. If you're not prepared to listen to experts in the diaspora, one-on-one, not in a town hall meeting, okay? Consultants don't go into town hall meetings. Okay,
Mr. Trevor, what I'm not following you, because it's like you're asking.
Well,
you're asking me to do something you're asking me to do something that many of you are not planning to help do. Like how many of your experts have joined the UIC?
Why should we join the UIC?
And volunteer to help with a committee
Why
to evaluate
should we
something?
join the UIC?
Good question. If you want the change we're talking about.
Hold on.
That's the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is...
there's a personal responsibility we have, because I did join it. And at this moment, because of the educational system, I am working with members of the diaspora now to look at an educational policy that we can involve other educators from in this process.
I'm going to ask you a
So
question.
there's a way that once you're on board, you can lead an NHG.
Hold on, Miss Francis.
Yes,
If
sir.
the UIC never existed when you came back to Jamaica,
Okay.
if it never existed,
Okay.
and you came back with all your skills and all your experience, what would you have done with it?
Come back? I wasn't planning on coming back.
No,
I was
no,
planning
no.
on starting a third
No.
party. That
So
was why.
Was it the UIC that brought you back?
Unfortunately, well, fortunately for me, I have the option of coming back. But I realize that there are people who don't have that option, or they don't know how to access other options. And so I feel, having served in the United States military and served the United States, and I'm served abroad as a fellow teaching abroad, I wanted to come back home and I wanted to serve here. And I didn't expect it to be like this, but I'm not giving myself the option of saying I'm going back because it's too much for me. I have to be a part of the change.
Was it the UIC that brought you back?
No, I came
Good,
back because I
good.
wanted to.
Therefore,
Okay.
whether the UIC existed or not,
Okay.
you would have been doing exactly what you're doing now.
Okay, that's
Good.
correct.
That's my point. So it's not
But
about
you're
this
saying
part.
there needs to be an
I don't need to
recruit-
join up. Listen,
recruit into
let me finish now. I don't need to join up. It doesn't mean I would not embrace the party, but I don't have to say I'm going to join a party to make a decision as to whether I'm going to do something in Jamaica. Because before the UIC, we were doing things. We still were upset with the parties there, but we were not doing it because of a party. So don't say I have to join the UIC and then come and do this. And if
Mr. Trevor Smith,
you don't have to, but how can you
Mr.
support
Smith,
what we
because
Mr.
what
Smith.
we do is not political.
let me say this to you, Mr. Smith. You, like all of us, have the right and the freedom to do whatever you want to do. What I'm saying to you is this. The UIC, to achieve what you have outlined that we need to achieve, requires people to join the party, and requires people to donate to the party, and requires people to volunteer.
But you
So
also
if you are not
mentioned
interested in that,
blind obedience.
Hold on, Mr.
Blind
Smith,
obedience.
Mr. Smith. What I'm saying is, those who don't want to join and don't want to donate and don't want to volunteer are free.
But you still
For the UIC to do what
you don't give them the freedom to sit down and examine whether the structure. You said
No, Mr. Smith, you're free to do that. You're free to do anything you want to do. You're free to evaluate the UIC. You're free to come to a public meeting. You're free to ask questions. You're free to suggest anything. People can do what
I want to hear you say.
But that's a given. We've always said that.
No. Before you said, as long as you don't stray, and your idea of
Mr. Smith,
is
no. What I'm talking about, why you don't listen? What we're talking about is when you are in.
Your idea of stray is that if you say so, it has to stay so.
Mr. Smith, you're putting words in my mouth. Let me say it again for you. Let me say it again for you.
Politics.
Let me say it again for you, Mr. Smith. Why don't you let me tell you?
Here, education, agriculture. If you say this is the policy, it has to stay so.
Mr. Smith, that is what you're saying. I have not said that.
That's what I heard.
Right.
No,
And let me tell you what I said. Since we're here, why don't I tell you what I've said again?
Okay.
I said those who join the UIC to help us do what we have to do, there's one provision. You must sign on to the vision, mission, and values of the movement. That's all. If you join the Rotary Club, you sign up to the vision and mission and values of the Rotary Club. If you join the IMF like Nigel just did, you have to sign up to the vision and mission. You can't go change the IMF plan.
No. You're wrong there. The Rotary Club has a bylaw and a constitution which can be amended, okay? It can be amended.
That's the constitution. Our constitution can be amended. I never said anything about the constitution.
If you use them as examples, I'm going to tell you that they can be amended.
Smith, you have just
Any idea that you have, you cannot say they have to follow.
Mr. Smith.
I think, gentlemen.
Yeah, we're going off the rails here.
I think we're getting hung up on semantics.
Yeah. Okay. So Mr. Smith, let me be very clear. The The UIC is an organization and it has its own framework of operation, right? Those who wish to join the UIC joins it within that framework. Okay? The UIC as an organization, in our constitution, it makes it very clear that the vision and mission of the UIC is the vision and mission. Okay? There is a process for people to engage in constitutional reform within the UIC. A process. In the last members meeting, we had people who made presentations for changes, and they were debated and they were voted up or down by the entire membership. You understand?
So you had changes. Or you voted them off the committee?
No, we had changes.
Well, you never indicated as much. Because
I think you're jumping to your own conclusions. You're not here asking questions to clarify. You're making statements even in front of me about things I've said that I didn't say. I think you're simply regurgitating some things you have heard from other people rather than simply coming here and listening and asking qualifying questions to inform yourself.
It is opinions like those that get you in trouble because you're
no trouble. Listen, I'm a straight shooter. And I'm not going to sit here and play games. You say what me never say. I'm here to tell you what me say.
Yes. And I think one of the things is I think you're taking an approach as though you use the word politician, and then I just need to let you know that I'm not a politician. I'm a teacher, I'm an educator.
What do you mean not a politician? So you're vice president of a political party. Get wise.
Excuse me, but I have spent over 25 years teaching. I'm a teacher.
You're a politician now.
I'm a politician. So what is a politician?
You are the vice president of a political party. You are a politician.
All right.
So I'm no longer a teacher, a Jamaican, a mother, a grandmother.
That's in your background.
So
President of a politician.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith and Miss Francis, we do have the semantical problem here, but we're going to move on. Let's move on now. Thank you. And by the way, Mr. Trevor, we do appreciate your feedback because it's all important. Everything you're saying, we might not appreciate, for example, either the gravity or the choice of words or the phraseology, but I think it's important for us to hear it and understand it, and we do. So what I wanted to move on to now is, I want to move on now to this, right? We have talked about the need for the UIC's position of integrated the diaspora fully in Jamaica's life, allowing them to vote remotely. And we all know that in America, for example, Americans live anywhere they want to live and still vote in American politics. We know that. And other countries like Canada does the same thing. You can vote remotely in Canada. One of the things I noticed in Canada, which was very interesting during the debate about dual citizenship, Canada couldn't give fill in the blanks what kind of additional citizenship you have. What they focus on is the competencies you bring to the table. And because of that, for 150 years, they have benefited from people who come from different countries, who retain their citizenship from their different country, who have been able to be finance minister, prime minister even, healthcare minister, and have done tremendous work to either do well, and in some cases, some of them fail. But the bottom line is that country for over 150 years have run a system where you can have dual citizenship, and they have not fared bad for it at all. But I continue. So here we go now. We must, in my opinion, allow the diaspora not only to vote, but to easily invest in Jamaican businesses and return home with a red carpet treatment. We must make a special effort to help them with the information they need, the banking services that they need, the tax incentives that they need, and the advisory support that they need, so that they are the ones, not the foreigners, Chinese or whoever, but they are the ones who get the privilege and first dibs to own our supermarkets, own our gas stations, own our manufacturing plants, own our sugar estates, own our rum factory. We have to make a concerted effort. I mean, when I say concerted, I mean serious. I mean talking about data, insights, information, consultative support, so that they can put their money where their mouth is. Not just a micro level investment in their mother, father, grandfather, grandmother, picnic, grand picnic, whatever, but put that money into the economic structure of a revolving economic growth and a generational national growth by them knowing that the government of Jamaica is looking out for their investment. They don't have an SSL because the government would be so stringent in monitoring the financial framework that they don't want a single diasporan to feel uncomfortable about investing $1 in Jamaica. They may lose their money, if a business fails, but it must be the business that fail normally, not because of any shenanigans, because the government's what do you call it now? Their system of compliance and their system of internal checks and balances and the kind of information and support they provide, the diaspora will feel like this is the best place to park their retirement funds, to park their excess cash flow, and to invest in their future as an individual and the future of our country. So, Sabone, I'm afraid, but what are your thoughts on that? I'm afraid to ask you because I don't want you to divert. What are your thoughts on
that? Listen. You know it's not personal. You know it's not personal, and everybody
Absolutely.
listening know it's not personal. The diaspora, has not been appreciated by the government of Jamaica.
True.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know that, and they know that. And the last thing we want to hear when you're talking about the diaspora, don't mention investments to them. Don't mention any of those things to them. Because we all say it 100%. All you want is the money.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
do you realize that when we put forward the UIC,
No.
Hold on. Just give me 1 second.
Your plan is a
Mr.
good
Smith.
plan.
I'd like to
Mr. Smith, hold on a second. And I know you're not speaking for the entire diaspora.
No,
But hold on a second.
nobody does.
Right. So, but what I know is this. If anybody at all who is honest, an honest human being, if they paid attention to the UIC for just the last 6 months alone, they would say, what a rotted comprehensive plan them have. Them cover everything. Hold on. The US, there's no other party in the history of Jamaica, the 66 that have failed so far, third parties, plus the 2 fake colonial ones, they have never put together such a comprehensive plan. We cover everything. So when we talk about investment now, that shouldn't scare anybody because that is a part of a comprehensive plan.
Yes, but you see, you're not the only one who talk about investment.
I know, but we have to talk about
diaspora. Every time somebody comes to the diaspora, it's because they want money.
Mr. Smith, come on now.
Okay, Mr. Francis, tell me what time they came and they want.
Mr. Smith,
So,
let me tell you, you're correct.
Beyond
Let me
that.
finish.
Mr. Smith, you are correct. Mr. Smith, you are correct.
I am leading up to what I was getting to.
Okay.
I'm leading up. Like you lead up, I'm leading up.
All right, lead up.
You don't take forever to lead
diaspora-
up.
Yeah, please don't take forever.
The
Lead up
diaspora-
quickly.
Conversion.
would like to be recognized for the education they're gonna bring back, for the experience they're gonna bring back, and for the changes. You would like them to send, no, not you, don't make it personal. They always ask investment companies come to the diaspora non-stop. And nobody has ever been asked for anything but the money. Do you know how many white papers have been presented to, I won't call these ministers' names, and they get filed? Do you know a guy named Philip Bedward? Probably not.
Okay, hear what? Mr. Smith.
Let me finish.
But
The diaspora has a lot of experience. And if, like Miss Francis, they came back to Jamaica, what are you coming with? Your experience. What is more valuable to you? Your experience or the money?
Mr. Smith, do you recall that we just talked about that earlier on? We just talked about, and you kind of dismiss it. We talked about what they bring, the whole heap of skill and stuff. We talked about it a while ago,
Yes,
remember?
you
So
see,
let's move on, man.
No,
Let's move on.
you talk
Go ahead,
about
Miss
it,
Francis. Your time. Miss Francis, your time. Go ahead.
but you don't show, you don't tell us how you have ever designed a plan where you're going to invite the diaspora, put them in the integrity commission, okay, where we can at least practice some of the transparency you're talking about.
Mr.
before.
Smith, me just say we are open up the whole system for UNO. Me not said that a while ago. We're going to have the diaspora fully engaged
But that is
entire
general.
life for Jamaica.
That is general
from a
talk.
pin to an anchor,
That
from
is
basic
general
school
talk.
to parliament.
We
We're going
need some specifics. That
What's
is
the-
general talk.
Mr. Smith, what's specific? If you
Hold on.
don't join the movement and help to write the specifics, how are we going to get there? If you keep waiting for we to go do everything for you, how are you going to get there?
But you already said that your job is already locked down.
You're putting words in my mouth. You see, again, you see, I think you're fixated on this. You want to give the impression that Joseph Patterson is a know-it-all. And when him say go, and nobody else can say nothing.
You are
And I
giving that
hear
impression.
mash down that lie because that's not true.
I don't have to do it. You're
So
doing it
mash up the
yourself.
lie there. Let's move on. The lie they done. You know how to do that.
I don't agree with that. I have been engaging and with Mr. Patterson over the past few months, actually, maybe 2 months or so, and he has been an excellent leader. And if you know what a leadership looks like, you know a good leader. I have never felt that my input was not valued or I couldn't make a contribution. I have initiated initiatives and just, his problem is reining me back because I'm ready to do what I need to do. He's just directing me as to where to channel my energies. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we can all come up with excuses as to why we can't do this or why we shouldn't, or it's a political thing. And if all we're going to do is sit back and criticize from the outside rather than getting involved and actually doing things, then we have no say.
Absolutely.
There is room for growth. There's room for service. There's need for professionals in every aspect. Jamaica needs it. The UIC needs it. And all we do is we come on board and we offer support, lead a project, start a project. He's not going to say no. See whatever need there is and bring your expertise in.
Miss Francis,
That's all that's happening.
Miss Francis, I agree with you. But you see, the thing is this: while you're saying that, we are sitting in diaspora, and we hear that 975 teachers have left in the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
850 nurses have left in the last 2 years. 70% of our university graduates find jobs abroad. And simultaneously, you're saying, bring back your experience and your education diaspora, and you're losing the ones we're training.
Well, you know why? Because number one, we're asking to come back because the system of governance currently is not facilitating that. So for example, I bring back my expertise and I realize the education system is in shambles and the education minister doesn't have the background. And I'm looking for, in the US, I can look for a contract. They'll have a contract space where if I need to, I can go in and bid for a position or there is no way, there's no process in place to invite in the expertise of outsiders unless I haven't seen.
That's my point. No process is in place.
So
that's my point.
The process is now. If we're wanting that to happen, there is another option that can help to facilitate that, and we can initiate it. It's governing means being involved. I realize that a lot of times we just sit back, vote, and then every 4 years we vote again, but that is not what truly a democratic process is. It's being involved at whatever level. So if we're not involved at the local level or
every level,
that we need to be involved in some level.
Every level. That's my point. So I would love to say that I knew and somebody asked me my opinion before the white paper was written. Not give me the document as I read it and say it's complete.
Well, you're into broadcasting right now, right?
Yes.
There's room for that. There's need to broadcast.
Miss Francis, if I came, hold on. Let's say I came out to you and I said, guys, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to start a new party in Jamaica. Could you all come on board and let us discuss and figure out what we're going to do, whatever. Never get nowhere. Never, ever get nowhere. And let me just remind you, 66 parties have tried it already. and all of them fail. And I would encourage you, Mr. SOSOBONE, to go understand why them fail, because I think you're living in a fantasy land. Somebody has to be a leader. Somebody has to provide a vision. Somebody has to provide direction. And then we coalesce. And when we coalesce, we combine our collective knowledge and we build out, and changes happen. Because, for example, since the UIC has started, we have had the implementation of different aspects of our plan coming from different members, different times over the course of it. There are things we do now and say now that didn't originate from me. I may have given it flesh. I may have also challenged it and allow, after the challenging conversation, we say, oh, chisel this. I'll give you an example. During the COVID era, one of our vice presidents, her recommendation was that we went out into the road at a particular time, long before the time when we did, and she had designed some stuff that we should implement and whatever, and we discussed it as a board, and everybody's scratching and we think, what you put together sounded very good. But when we look at the reality at the time, what's happening on the ground and whatever, the vote of the membership, the vote of the NEC said, no, we can't. If we do this, it is going to lead to this and this and this and this and this. And we evaluate. And then we said, no, we're not going to do it now. About a few months later, we came back to the drawing board with another plan that draw from that plan some elements, got rid of some elements. We go through the whole process again, and then we vote, and this time we say, yeah, this is it. Hold on, man. Listen to me, man. Listen to me.
Hold on.
And so what happened was,
Stick a pin. Let me tell you why I agree with you. It is the same process you're talking about that the diaspora want to do when it comes to the voting. Not when you say you vote where you want to in St. Catherine or Portland. The diaspora is saying maybe we need to examine that a little bit.
That's what you are saying. You are saying that.
Right.
No, you are saying that. And what would happen is, if the diaspora, like you, were very serious, a long time you'd end at the UIC and match that out and have that discussion and then come. But you're not going to sit down out on the outside there. So while we are struggling to pull, and we have to pay the bills every day to run this movement, and you just come and want to sit down and just say, hey, this is what me say, I want must do it. No! If you want to have a stake in this, get involved. Put your money where your mouth is and be a part of the process.
I understand.
But we have to continue. I have to move on. So here we are now. So we talked about earlier on the issue of the investment side, which you didn't want to hear. Now, we have to allow those who return to Jamaica to maintain their dual citizenship. We must not pressure them to give up their dual citizenship. And I'll tell you why. If we do that, we are cutting off with nose to spite with face. Because you see that citizenship there, where the Jamaicans go abroad and earn? Earn it. They left Jamaica and them suffer in a snow and racism and all kind of ism. And they now get certain benefits attached to that dual citizenship. And you're telling them, some people want to tell them, that if you want to come and serve at the highest level in Jamaica, you must give it up. That is foolish. That is stupid, because you are denying yourself some of the best and brightest minds in the world. So we have to allow the people them to keep them dual citizenship if they wish to return and to serve in office. Don't push them. Don't punish them. Don't cause them to think that the only way they can serve is to give up what they have earned. Let them keep what them earn and let them contribute all of that skills and competencies to Jamaica. Now, some will say, well, they need to do that to show their loyalty. How much loyalty did Nigel show? Nigel never have dual citizenship, and he was our finance minister. He has not yet finished implementing the existing budget. Jamaica is facing some serious times ahead. We're now experiencing economic decline, which they have not published fully for the country. We're at a stage right now where the budget that they presented is a flawed budget, and they have not been able to tell us how they're going to bridge the gap. And him jump ship without a dual citizenship. Him leave where and gone without having Canadian or British or American citizenship. And when him going now, him will get it if him want it. So we have to start having sense now.
Yeah.
Don't punish our people.
Okay.
Don't deny ourselves the opportunity of these people serving at the highest level of our governance. What we should do, though, and this is important, I won't ask you if you agree with me because that might take us another half an hour.
This is not an agreement platform. Just take your opinion and I state mine. We may have to agree with you.
What I said, I'm not saying you must agree. I want to ask you, and I want a short answer.
Listen.
I want a short answer.
I cut the facts.
I want. Oh gosh. Anyway,
Mr. Patterson.
Yeah.
The same way when you opened up your conversation, you were speaking not to me, but to those who didn't know.
Not just to you. I'm speaking to you, but not just to you.
No. Well, I'm letting you know that the same way I am speaking to you, not because I don't know, but I need them to hear you emotionally answer that question behind me. You understand? That's what I'm a talk show host. That's what I do. Okay?
All right. Thank you. Appreciate that.
We have heard more information from you now than you have given out in 10 of your other sessions.
No, and here's the good thing.
Okay.
I just said earlier on, I never said nothing, but now you're hearing. I'm going to tell you where I lead up to it. So thank you. I appreciate that. All right. So let's move on now to the follow-up point to all of this, right? Okay, this is important. It's not enough for us to just say, come vote in Jamaica, come invest in Jamaica, and keep your dual citizenship and all them kind of nice things there. We also have to replace the colonial constitution with one that will embrace all Jamaicans around the world. And it has to be designed in such a way that we are forced to hire the best persons and the brightest persons to serve as ministers of government based on merit instead of based on politics or party. So it's not just good enough for us to talk the things I just said before. We have to now implement that in a constitution that comes with the proper checks and balances, that creates the right kind of internal incentives, and which gives us the best people based on merit. And the UIC has designed such a system. It is called a non-partisan constitutional republic, which allows us to nominate and evaluate and appoint subject matter experts as ministers of government instead of mere politicians, and to fully separate your ministers, those who will head your departments to execute the policies of government. They must be separate from those who are elected to represent the people, to vet, oversee, and speak to and challenge those implementations, and to vote on the laws which will govern those policies. So you must separate your representatives from your ministers. Right now in Jamaica, everybody mix up. Senators mix up in the executive. MPs mix up in the executive. They can't oversee each other properly. They become conflicted, even confused, and most importantly, they become corrupt.
Inefficient, very inefficient.
And so we have to stop that. So that is why the UIC is big on not constitutional reform, but constitutional replacement. We have to dash with that colonial model. And we have to bring in a model that truly reflects the interests and values and desires of the Jamaican people. And what we want is a system of proper checks and balances, a system that will hold the executive branch fully accountable, but not have them conflicted by being a part of the legislative branch as well. Not having your senators being a part of the executive or your MPs being a part of it. You must separate them.
Yeah, must be.
And
one more thing, you must make sure so your senators are not appointed persons. Right now they're appointed. Your 13 government senators are appointed by the Prime Minister, and 8 of your senators are appointed by the opposition. And now they want to reform the constitution to also have some appointment by the Governor General. Mash down that lie and foolishness. We need to have senators who are elected by their parishes. So when a law comes from the lower house to be passed, you have 14 men and women. One of them represents St. Catherine, one of them represents Portland, one St. Thomas, so on. So that when the law must be passed now, St. Thomas say, hold on a second. So we are still the forgotten parish. I get my vote. And Hanover can say, no. This bill now get my vote because you have not addressed the matters of importance to the people of Hanover. And the person that rely on it say, hold on a second. This bill is going to undermine our peer. And the people in Westmoreland say, hold on a second. Why are you bypassing us in this? And so now those who are making the laws have to think about the balancing interests of the 14 parishes. Yeah. And the beauty of this is that the MPs themselves, Mr. Smith, the MPs themselves now, because we have implemented a 100% publicly funded system, the MPs now not have to worry about getting money from the PSOJ oligarchs or from their party. They can truly represent the people of their constituencies and can speak to it with vigor and vim, and with confidence and with independence.
You have a great platform. I've said it before, and you have a great message. As a general sales manager, which I've been for the last nearly 30 years, as I said, the last position I held in New York was president of Townhall Jamaican Style Party, the first Jamaican Style Party company in the United States. Okay, as past this position I held before I came back to Georgia. I was a member of the Kingston JCs when I was in Jamaica, way back. They taught me the steps: member, committee assistant, committee chair, up the ladder. When I came to New York, it was the Caribbean American Chamber of Commerce, Royal Stick. Okay. When I went to Atlanta, it was the Atlanta Jamaican Association, 2 terms as vice president. Okay. Now I'm involved with the Institute of Caribbean Studies, Dr. Claire Nelson, in different capacity. Okay. I understand the responsibility of serving community. And typically, we know that we have to have a plan that the people support, even though it's only 10% of the people do the work. Okay? And when I listen to you, yes, it costs you money. And yes, you have made personal sacrifice. And I said, you're supposed to. Because Jesus Christ only had 12 and he gave his life and he had the nails and the spear in his side. That's what leaders suffer for their dedication to community.
All right. Well, I disagree with that. I am not here to be nailed on any cross. I did it once, I'm not do it again. I went down there and they locked me up and whatever. And guess what?
Francis, what do you say?
Hold on. After they locked me up, After they locked me up, and a few persons came to court a few times. I know me and my wife alone go to court now. And are we paying all the bills for that every single day? And it's now been nearly 3 years that I'm in court, and I am paying the price. I have been nailed on the cross. I'm gonna resurrect yet. I
think he has done that and made that sacrifice.
I know.
As always, people step back and
I know.
Easy. Just to say he's not a politician either. He's an accountant. So those of us who are taking the bull by the horn, who are just regular Jamaicans, regular citizens, are saying the only way this is going to happen is if we get involved and we work it out together. If we have differences, we work through that. We don't sit outside and say, well, until you have perfected the process, then you can jump on board. That's not how it works.
As I said.
So let me continue, Mr. Smith.
No, it was my turn. The diaspora understands. They send $3 billion, $4 billion back every year because there's a void where the money is. If they stop sending back the money, Jamaica sinks. They know.
Trevor, listen. The diaspora will never stop sending $3.5 billion. I'll tell you this.
One more.
They'll never stop. I'll tell you why they're not going to stop. And the two parties know this. And they fool us because most of us don't really see behind the obvious, right? So here's the bottom line. The people who send the 3.5 billion, them not send it for the government. Them not send it for Jamaica. Them sending it for their mother, them father, and grandmother. So guess what happened? As long as they have somebody here that needs their help and who they care about, they'll be sending the money back. And so the politicians know that. So they are not losing no remittance because they're bad and wicked and corrupt. They will continue to see that coming. And guess what? That's what's stopping the gap. When America loses its dollar standard, its dominance in the market as a dollar, when the BRICS system kicks in fully, and when the power brokers at the top who is bigger than America. They're only using America. When they pull the plug and say it's time to end this because it's no longer sustainable and they want to move on to a different system, and those Jamaicans who live in America lose their jobs to AI and all the things that's going to happen, and the dollar loses its power and become a near worthless currency, and inflation goes through the roof and wipe out their purchasing power, just like in 2020 when remittance dropped by more than 50%. We will see that. And then when that sufferation liquid and our backs are against the wall, then the Jamaican people are going to rise up. And here's the worst part. If the UIC doesn't exist to absorb that rising up, you might dread what takes its place. Now, I see this. Hold on, man. Hold on. Listen for a change. Mr. Bones, listen up. Listen for a second. I'm younger than you, but listen. All right? Listen and learn. If we, the people of Jamaica, do not give ourselves a reasonable, sane, and sensible political party to guide us through what is coming, the people may very well vote for something that's 100 times worse than what they have now. And I saw this years ago and said, listen, I have an obligation to make sure the Jamaican people have a real option. It has been a pain, but to make sure we have a real option that understand the underlying factors of economics and what must be done for us to be a real developed nation, no less than Singapore. And that's what I'm pursuing. But bear with me, I have to leave now because we're running out of time. Let's move on to the next topic. Sorry. So the next point here I want to make is that once we have dealt with the Constitution, a key part that must come out of that, if we're going to rebalance Jamaica and address a long-standing problem that affects our people. And the people have become so numb to that reality that they're forgotten that the land in Jamaica was stolen from their ancestors, and that they, the people of Jamaica, are actually 100% entitled to that land being dispersed to them. If your ancestors were slaves in this country, that land belongs to you, and you should never have to buy that land, at least a piece of it for your own residential purposes. That should have been your land from the beginning. Jamaica, we have to fix this problem, and we have to stop calling our people squatter, and we have to even recognize that those in the diaspora who are from this country, who run away as refugees because of the harsh conditions here, they're entitled to it too. But just in case you feel that Jamaica is too small to give the 7 million away, back our land, let me tell you this. Singapore is the size of St. Thomas. It's 1/15 Jamaica's size, which means it can fit 15 Singapore in Jamaica. But Singapore's population is twice that of Jamaica, and 92% of Singaporeans have a house to call their own. A UIC government is committed 150,000% to returning the stolen lands back to the Jamaican people and helping them to have affordable homes, not little matches boxes, but real homes that are not sold at market value, but are sold for what houses should be sold for based on you living in it, so you can move on with the rest of your life. So we have built a model, and SOSOBONE, I can't tell you that details because they're my weird feet. I want you to know that this is the UIC plan, and we're going to do what they had 80 years to do, 63 years to do, and they have not done it. Whether them are PNP or GLP and say my leader Barney or not, they have never done it. And we, the UIC, is going to give back the people them land, give them back their beaches, and give them back their heritage as the sole owners of this property called Jamaica. Miss Francis, your time. Miss Francis, your time to talk.
I have
Miss
dealt with this mentality.
As a member of the diaspora, your time to comment on this.
I have dealt with this mentality.
Mr. Smith, wait for Miss Francis.
She's not a member of the diaspora. She's not in the diaspora.
As I said before, as one who is a recent returning resident who still have our foot wet, what are your thoughts on that?
She's vice president of the party.
I'm asking her what is her Go ahead, Miss Francis. Your time for talk.
And my family still lives in and I travel back often to make sure that things are still in place there. That is so well put and very it's a incentive for diasporans to return home, to know that you can come back to your own land. That is an incentive. That's why I came back. Why not? You know, and not only come back to your land, but to come back and serve in my own land.
Amen.
What greater privilege would that be than to come back and be in? I am happy to be here, and I'm happy that there's an alternative, because what I saw, and I'm used to being a part of the local government. I have run for political office in Florida before, and so I'm accustomed to doing and serving in my community. That I didn't win the election, but I learned about the process by doing that. And many of our people are not familiar with being a part of the political process. We're used to, you know, just electing people and sitting back and allowing them to do what they do, and that's what leads to corruption. So being a part and serving, we've done it in churches, we've done it in our social civic organizations, and it's no different than serving, if you want to call this politically. But I'm a Jamaican first. I'm a teacher. I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother, and I'm now serving in this capacity. I am not a politician. I don't even know how to do that. I don't know. I didn't go to school for that. So I'm happy to be able to serve. And I'd like those of us in the diaspora who have and want to. You don't have to want to come back home to serve in some capacity. There is need for this, especially now when we have 80% failure rate. I feel a responsibility in making sure that I use the education I've had, the expertise I've had to help to rebuild our nation.
Well put. So, Sabone, quickly, your comments.
Well, I am glad that Ms. Francis is not running for any office in Jamaica.
Why?
Okay, all right.
Even though
Could you restrict your comment to the issue that we just talked about? Please just go back to what we talked about earlier.
No.
Please.
I mean, I'm just responding to the fact that she's not a politician because she's not running for office.
Okay, got you. Thank you. Go ahead.
You know, the diaspora, as I said, I am about the engagement. Okay.
Mr. Smith, can you respond to what I just spoke about? Just give me a quick thought on that so we can move to the next point. Just a quick response to that so we can just keep it going, because we're out of time. We're now 22 minutes past the time we should have stopped, and I want to get quickly through some stuff so you hear the solutions we're putting forward. So could you just quickly comment on that? You want me to remind you what we just talked about?
No. Well, the idea,
yes,
I've seen it in the diaspora before, where you have good people in an organization and they would like to be president. And so they keep their ideas to themselves. And while they do that, the president who is in office fails. And then when that president fails, then they run for president and they take over. And my question is, how many people suffer? How many people suffer while you keep your ideas to yourself? How many? If a nurse is operating on somebody and you're the doctor, you're going to wait until you get hired as a doctor before you say, nurse, you're doing this thing wrong? That is analysis. It's not a criticism, it's a response that you have great ideas, but you will not expose them. And when you finally get a majority in the government of Jamaica, when you will actually have the opportunity to actually implement, because even if you win 2 seats or 3, you're a minority, and they're going to backbench you.
All right, Mr. Smith, thank you. I appreciate your thought. We have to move on now quickly. So now that we've spoken about the land that was stolen from us that must be returned, I want to go back to investment because that's a key part. So when we talk about investment now, what the UIC is thinking about, how we want to channel the Jamaican people, and by extension, the diaspora, is to focus their investment on 3 core areas first and foremost. One is making Jamaica water secure, the other is food secure, and the next is energy secure. By becoming a net exporter of water, by becoming the organic food capital of the world, and by leading in the area of renewable technology use and consultation. In other words, we want to really channel Jamaica into an area that I believe, and that many members of the UIC, not all of us believe this because we've had members who disagree, but the majority have voted in favor of these, that Jamaica has a competitive advantage in all three of these spaces with some additional amendments: water, food, energy, and building out our knowledge set in both using renewable energy technology from permaculture right through to solar panels and geothermal energy and bioenergy and so on, and then becoming a consultant to the rest of the world, the same way Singapore built themselves up as a financial powerhouse. Remember, Singapore now have nothing. They now have no resources like we, but they became a big powerhouse in the financial sector. I believe we can become a powerhouse in the water, food, and energy sectors, alternative energy sectors, that is, and make our people strong from basic school right through to university, PhD, master's, PhD, and so on, become really good at water management, real organics, and strengthen us as that leading cutting edge people in food processing, growing organically, maximizing the yield in small plots of land, or using vertical, and all that kind of stuff, and mastering the technology. We must, in my opinion, focus on building a reputation on top of that now as the safest, the cleanest, and the most orderly free nation on the planet. So make Jamaica that space where everybody wants to come to escape the tyranny of their various countries, the tyranny of censorship, the tyranny of mask mandates, the tyranny of being injected with this or that. So we'll have to start issuing visas, because we're the freest place to live in, but yet the safest place, because we have put things in place that I will describe, the cleanest place, a very beautiful place. We have the environment for that to happen. And we build that into our community by making every community look, smell, and feel like a tourist resort, while integrating community tourism at the grassroots level to bring the economy home. So the simplest Jamaica, the Jamaican with the least capacities or capabilities, can at least host somebody in their community, in their home, and make a money in a dignified way, a way that they're proud of themselves, because most of it can cook, most of it can entertain, and so on. So we build that into the infrastructure while allowing those who have other competencies now to become water experts, food experts, energy experts, and all the way live in an environment now which is pristine, well-maintained, horticulture, well-maintained sidewalks, green spaces, parks, community centers, where you just feel like you belong here. So this is heaven. You want to stay. And by the way, I've experienced that in Singapore, which is just amazing. I couldn't believe that a place like this exists on Earth. I stayed there for a month, and it was like, my God, this is so good. So I have talked about this before, and I know Singapore did it before, and I have been there, captured it, and seen it firsthand live. We can do it too. And here's the funny thing: we can even do it better. Your thoughts, Ms. Francis, and then Mr. SOSOBONE.
I have to make it short because my phone is about to die, but I think that having I'm sorry, not my phone, my iPad. Having a model such as Singapore from which to use as a bar is a great way to move forward, because we have something from which to to base our baseline, and then moving forward from there. So I'm on board. I'm supporting. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to bring that vision
Great.
forward.
Mr. Smith, your turn.
Well, I think Singapore is a bad model.
Do you have a better model?
I mean, I say this because when Singapore became independent, close to the time Jamaica was independent, the British government, so Hillary Bickers will tell you that the British government took a decided effort, and based on Jamaica's size, plantations, and all the things that they were dependent on, they decided that they would not fund Jamaica's economic development. And that, as a matter of fact, when the West Indies tried to unite with the Federation of the West Indies, they said that Jamaica would have to pay for 50% of the cost, and that's why Jamaica dropped out. And they never funded them. But when Singapore and the other Asiatic countries that are now on top of the technology, they got money from all the other countries and gave them to develop the economy. And Jamaica didn't get a dime. Okay? So Jamaica was starved. You can follow Sir Hillary because Britain made a decided effort to underdevelop the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
So
I
you
wish.
cannot compare Jamaica to a child who is starved all your life to a child who lives in a getting eggs and for breakfast every morning.
All right, Mr. Smith, I want you to go back and look at Jamaica's. I want you, Mr. Smith. Thank you. I hear you. I want you to go back and look at Jamaica's economic numbers in the 60s. Had Lee Kuan Yew had to say this himself. He says, "I wish that Singapore started with what Jamaica started with." Go read the book, From Third World to First World. He said, "I wish that we had what you guys had to start with." And I can tell you this as a person who specializes in financial figures. I had to look at the numbers for Singapore very closely and the numbers for Jamaica very closely. And what you have just said a while ago is 100% wrong. 100%. What I can tell you is this.
Because at university, the vice chancellor of the University of the West Indies.
Listen, it's not the first time the vice chancellor would be wrong.
And it's not the first time you're always, and it's not the first time you might be wrong.
Of course, but I'm sure I'm not wrong because I have looked at the data.
You see,
that's
ego.
No, that's an ego. I'm telling you this. What you're talking about, every single country in the world, especially those in Africa, the Caribbean, and the Asian country and Middle East, every one of them have suffered from colonial meddling. It is always the interest of the colonial powers to manipulate and extract from any country they get a chance to do, whether it's Singapore or Jamaica, whether it's Ghana or Grenada, they will do it. That's not the problem. The problem is those who are faced with the same problem have leaders who make good decisions and some make very bad decisions. In life, you have to know how to negotiate. You have to know how to be diplomatic. You have to know how to play your cards and play the hand you have. We get the hand and chose a victim position and keep telling ourselves how much the colonials are oppressing us rather than making good diplomatic and strategic decisions to move our country forward. Singapore's leader, Lee Kuan Yew, was wise, was diplomatic, and was strategic, and he got the results to move his people forward. Our leaders were licky, beggy, and failed to apply good competencies to manage our country, and as a result of that, they made a mess of a good thing. They had good banana, they had good sugar, they had good backside, they had all these things, and they mismanaged until finally they broke the bank with $2 trillion. Hold on. They broke the bank with $2 trillion and then have to go beg more money from the IMF. That is the problem.
I am not denying that the mismanagement took place because the cost report that Trevor Monroe will tell you, walk you to the cost report, not all the money that should have built the high schools in Jamaica was stolen. I will not deny that. Okay? But Singapore had no land that the Queen of England decided to keep as crown land. The reason why Paul Bogle marched on Morant Bay is because the Jamaicans were starving. They had no lands of their own to feed themselves. Okay,
Mr. Smith, do you know
bright people?
Do you know that Singapore has almost 6 million people on lands the size of St. Thomas? 6 million people living.
We have over 6 million too, but they are not in Jamaica.
Exactly. But we have 15 times the size of Singapore. Now, when Singapore became independent, everybody, including England, wrote them off. Ask Winston Churchill. They said there's no way that little piece of thing can survive. They'll be crushed by those around them, bigger countries around them. And that man, listen, I wish we had one leader in Jamaica back in the 1960s that would have been like Lee Kuan Yew in pushing for A, elimination of political corruption, B, creating a very, very safe country for his people by mandating effective policing on every street, lane, and corner, and 3, ensuring that you put education at the top of your economic agenda, because he said, if you don't build your people, Singapore now have nothing, but we have the people. Make sure we educate our people. The dumbest math student in Singapore is brighter than our brightest math student in Jamaica because they invested. When we have failed 82% of our children, they're passing 92% of their children. Their children can do chemistry and build rubber and all kind of plastics. Their children can do mass finances across the world. Their children are engineers in all kinds of
Queen
stuff.
of England, did the Queen of England keep the land? We still have crown lands that you
Let
talk
me
about
answer
in
that for
Jamaica.
you.
You
Let me
talk
answer
about
that for
crown
you.
lands in
Let
Jamaica
me
now.
answer that
Did the
for
Queen
you.
of England keep the land in Singapore?
Well, let me answer that for you. When Singapore got independence, Lee Kuan Yew immediately made this country a republic by getting rid of the Queen.
Did the Queen of England keep the land?
You hear what I say?
I heard
Lee
you.
Kuan Yew, the leader of you're not following me. You don't get
I'm
it.
following you.
Our
Because,
leaders.
because the
Listen,
bottom line is this. that
our
they
leaders.
they own the
Our
land.
leaders.
They own the land
Bustamante.
for 62 years and we still don't own the land.
Listen, Bustamante said this. I am with the Queen and I am for the Queen. So the ramp with Jamaica and remove the Queen. He said that. And Norman Manley said, I am the smart barrister and I'm going to make sure that I entrench the Queen in Jamaica. The Queen never forced us to keep her. We decide we want to keep her. So the crown land is because of Norman Manley and Bustamante. Right. And because of Fidem Two Party that have kept Jamaica bondage to that system. And Lee Kuan Yew was smart, was wise, and the first thing he did when he became the new leader of Singapore was to get rid of their colonial constitution and put in place a republic constitution where they would not have a crown and therefore you can't have crown lands.
And they got money from the UK, they got money from Canada, they got money from all of them.
Let me ask you a dumb question. Let me ask you a dumb question. Let me ask you a dumb question. How much money Jamaica has gotten in grants? You see how much money we have gotten in grants over the years? Whole heap of money. Wait there now. We've borrowed $2 trillion and we have gotten at least more than a third of that in grants. Wait there. It's not the money you get from England. It's the leadership
we do not
you
disagree on the corruption. We do not disagree on the corruption. But you don't blame the Jamaican people because the Queen kept the land.
I do not blame the Jamaican people. I blame Busta and Norman and their two colonial parties and the plantocracy that is now the PSOJ and the media that they control that navigated the poor Jamaican people who were undereducated from years of slavery. They led them astray. They were misleaders and they should be tried and charged for treason for what they have done to the Jamaican people.
And my question is, are you going to pay for the land now?
What's that?
Are you going to pay for the land?
Mr. Smith, you don't get it. Honestly, you
no,
don't get it.
No.
You don't get it.
Listen.
How are you going to pay for the land? The land right now, the government is giving away the land of Jamaica. Right now, the government of Jamaica gives away land to China. They gives away land to anybody they want to give it to, they give it to. They just fool you. They fool us to say we must pay for the land that them give away. Okay? You can come to Jamaica from China right now and cut a deal with the government and say you want to do some investment. And you want to build something over there, so something big over there. So. And part of the deal, for sweeten the deal, throw in 500 acres of land over there, so become a light a piece there. And our government, which should not be called a government, would give them the 500 acres because they're going to get immediate injection that will allow them to scam the Jamaican people. And over time, we, the Jamaican people, are going to become nothing but tenants. Right now at Santa Cruz, I live here, so at Santa Cruz right now, every day there's a new building going up and it's not owned by a Jamaican. And my
question is, how are you gonna give them back the land?
Mr. Smith, we're going to do it the same way them give it away. The same way they give it the land, we're going to give it to the Jamaican people.
I am just trying to find out, you talk about land.
No, I'm not going to, right. I'm not going to tell you.
My question is, how are you going to do it?
We're going to do it in a legal and justified and very structured way. We're going to give back the people the land that belongs to them, that's stolen. The same way the government right now is using their legal position to give away the lands of Jamaica. We're going to use our legal position as the government of Jamaica to give the people back them land. Okay?
All right. Well,
yes.
If that's as far as it has gotten, I will accept that you have an interest in giving back the land.
Of course.
I will accept you have an interest in giving back the land.
Yeah.
But the legal procedure might take, 50 years?
No. Absolutely not. And that's the way they trick us. There's no 50 years. Did you notice, for example, during the COVID foolishness, how fast they could get anything done that they needed to do legislatively? In 3 days, they can get anything done.
But you see,
Prior to that,
you have a one-party system down there because the PNP is in
prior to that, they need 3 years, 5 years, 10 years.
Yeah,
For example, I'll give you one.
Because you had a balanced government at one point, 29 and 31.
No, man,
now it's
that's
41
all,
and 13.
No, that's all foolish. That doesn't mean nothing. If you know Jamaica's constitution, if you have a minority government, meaning if you had 33 JLP and 30 PNP, the government can do all the things it did during COVID with the 33, all the things. And in the Senate, for you to pass any bill that requires 2/3 majority, you always need one PNP to side with you if you're GLP, or one GLP to side with you. And all major bills have always gotten this 2/3 majority. Even when you hear the PNP grandstand and say how much they're opposed it and they still go and vote with it because they're two sides of the same coin.
And that is the problem I see for you.
Yeah.
I said, even if you win 2 or 3 seats,
no,
even if you win 2 or 3 seats,
mm-hmm.
and you're sitting there, you still have the same entrenched working together. That's all I'm saying.
What would you prefer? Let me ask you this. Would you prefer for us to have 0 seats?
I am not telling you.
No, I'm saying, no, you're saying even if we have 3 seats, we have a problem. So would you prefer we have 0 seats?
No. You see, it's because the things that you're saying, you need a majority to do it.
You're not, but Mr. Smith, of course we want a majority. But I'm saying, you're saying if you have 3 seats, what you're saying to the Jamaican people is, it no matter. If the UIC can't get up tomorrow and win 60 seats,
you're making promises that only a majority can do. That's what I'm trying to say.
We're making promises that a government will do. That's what governments do.
What the UIC government would do. And I'm saying, you don't have enough people.
Come on, man, you're wasting my time now. Honestly, you're wasting my time because you're talking in circles. The UIC, if the UIC wins 1 seat, yeah, Mr. Smith, yeah, I mean, I can't understand you. I don't understand you. I mean, I really don't understand you. What are you trying to say here? We should then give up because it is so difficult. We shouldn't bother to do anything. We must just sit down with these two for the next 80 years. We should just sit with this.
No. I don't want you to promise to give them land with 3 seats. You can't do it.
Mr. Smith, I am saying we will give the Jamaican people back them land if them vote for it. It's that simple. If the Jamaican people, by the way, when Manley was in government, Manley give some land. Some. Down at Seaview Gardens right now, where my mother had a house. A Manley give her the house there. And him give a number of them the house there. And upper top side, Siaga come in and then give a number of them the house up there. So when they want to create garrison, they go and give it. So don't tell me so we can't do it. We can do it.
But before that, Mr. Patterson, you're telling me how Jamaican people licky, and that's all they want to get something to vote. And now you're telling me you're gonna give them house and land. The same
Mr. Smith, you're missing the point, sir. Mr. Smith, the land is for them land. And I'm not give them what somebody thief your land from you, may I give it back. Somebody thief your land from you. Them people for your grandmother.
Okay.
Them people for your grandfather. And me I give it back to you. And then me also I said to you this. Me also I said this to you.
Okay.
Me also hold on, follow me. Me also said this to you. Watch me carefully. The current structure that they have for housing is artificially high. They have artificially created high prices. Me, as an economist in my own right, somebody who love and understand economy, somebody who love and understand finance and mathematics, me, I tell you, having studied the effectiveness of Singapore at getting 92% of their people to own, 6 million people, 92% of them people to own home. Me, I tell you that we can give our Jamaican people a structured program that will allow them to have decent, good quality homes that are affordable and not at the inflated prices that they're now being killed with 30-year mortgages. Me, Joseph Patterson, put my neck on the block, elect the UIC, and I will ensure that A, you get back the land, and B, you get affordable homes that are not mattress boxes.
And I have no doubt that without corruption, we would have been experiencing that. So I'm not gonna challenge that, because we talk about corruption and what it sucks out of our economy. So if you have a corruption-free government, nobody doubts that. Okay, the message is good. I don't doubt the message. But when I don't see a number swelling, then I have to ask myself why.
Because you not come. Because you are waiting for number for swell. When are you at the number for swell it? Are you have to come swell it? I know. Yeah, everybody do like you know. Everybody will wait like you. I wait.
No.
Let me see where UIC go and go. UIC not go nowhere without you.
We accept the fact that we are the diaspora and we can't vote. And I'm trying to determine the voters in Jamaica, why is it that on the ground you're not getting your 40%?
Mr. Trevor Smith, don't be foolish, sir. To get on the ground and get anywhere, you must have financial resources. You cannot. I have done what I'm able to do, and you people, wherever you are, who sitting down and waiting for the UIC to gain traction. We gain traction long time and them liquid off. We gain traction in 2021 and they send people inside the party for make sure that them dismantle it. That is normal. So that's what they do to Marcus Garvey.
You have a money problem like Donald Trump.
Mr. Smith, you're missing the point. I'm not talking about Donald Trump here. I don't know what money problem you have.
It's a money problem.
No, you're missing the point. And stop the foolishness. What I'm saying is this.
What I'm saying is
the UIC Mr. Smith, no, listen to me carefully. You need to learn your history. Every Jamaican that means this country good, that has arisen, the PSOJ and the two colonial parties who are agents of the crown, cut them down. And if we don't learn that and rise up and combat it, they will cut down everybody that come. Whether it's Joseph Patterson or Trevor Smith or your Grand Picnic, they're going to cut them down. If we don't understand the truth, how they cut down Marcus Garvey, how they cut down Leonard Howell, how they cut down Alexander Bell, they will do it to every Bedward. They will do it to every single solitary leader we send, because them know some fool, and I got wait to see them rise before we know say, are we at the wind beneath them wings? Are we the people that do it? That's why the UIC is the People's Party. That's why we're not owned by the PSOJ. The moment the PSOJ own we, they can give up, because it will make a difference. They will simply see us as a way to continue their hold over the economy and the country. So if they decide to fund we, we're dead. The moment the PSOJ decide to fund the UIC, I walk away from it. Because I would know that there's no way that they're going to allow us to do what we want to do, because those who have the money, who own the money, own the party and own the country. The UIC want the people, the 3-4 million in the diaspora and the 3 million in Jamaica. And by the way, I don't mean all of them, I mean a subset. 500,000 now we can do it. If 500,000 now we own this party with just $10 a month, we have more money than the PSOJ could ever use to stop us from going door to door to door, from buying the media we want to buy, from putting up all the billboards we want to put up, from doing all the surveys we want to do. We will be able to do it. But as long as everybody await for the UIC to miraculously do what is impossible, that's why 66 failed already. Shall we allow it to fail again? It's very simple. Just keep waiting. It will never come.
So you would like the diaspora to come back home or to fund you?
Listen, the diaspora, some want to come home and can come home. I was one of them. I come home. Many diaspora in my capacity would never have left Canada and come home, because remember, in Canada, I was a director of finance in the government, so I didn't need to come home. I have served as financial controller for major corporations. I have served as chairman of the board for an international global corporation with $146 billion in asset under management. I didn't need to come home, but I wanted to come home, and I chose to come home, and I did that at 40 years old. Very few, very, very few, if any, will come home. And if they come home, they're going to come home to enjoy them little piece of Jamaica. They will build their nice homes, build a big fence, put up their security cameras, and enjoy the best of Jamaica while the rest of the nation suffer. I have put my life on the line. I have put my people come into this party and come and accuse me of thieving money and go all over the place. And they're still doing it today, still spreading rumors all over the place that I've stolen money and all kind of stuff. Who want to put themselves through that? Who want to do that? Very few will do that. No, I have done. Sorry?
A patriot.
Well, there are many people who think that they're patriots. They won't do it. There are many people, if you ask them, they would say,
ask the question.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Okay. And you know, the bottom line is this. Me do it already. I have come here and I have fought the battle now and gotten us a party. Remember, they changed the laws in 2017-18. They changed the laws and they wiped out all third parties. Right now, the NDM is no longer, they're talking, but they're not registered. So they can't compete in any election as a registered party. The Marcus Garvey party can't compete. They're not registered. No other third party that existed at the time have been able to re-register or to register for the first time. They wrote those laws to get rid of them, and they got rid of them. The UIC now challenged them, and we fought them for 10 bitter months until they had to acquiesce and give us registered status, and then they lock off the media. They say, oh, you think you're big and bad? Just lock it off, right? And so they lock off the media, so the people can't hear us unless we find other channels. They even went and shadow banned us. Right now, you look at our platforms. In 2021, look how much you had people going on the platforms. Now, it won't come up in the feeds. Very hard to come up. You have to go search for it to come up. You think them easy? You think these people are jokers? You think this is a light matter? They are very committed to keeping we just where we did. And if we don't decide to get smart and wise up as a people and say, listen, man, I feel we country this. And all it takes is for each of us to say, may I get $10? Every month is $50,000 come from my pocket into this business. $50,000 every single solitary month from my pocket. It has cost me $15 million or more to date for this. That build house, that buy multiple cars. If you're a gallus, you can have whole heap of gal. You follow me?
I follow you.
But I have spent my time and my money, and I have put my money where my mouth is. And all I'm saying, why can't 500,000 of we do that? There's very few people in the diaspora who can't find $10 a month. Very, very few. Very, very few. Right now, tomorrow, the diaspora could buy this UIC immediately and say, I feel a part of this. Right now, the diaspora could wake up tomorrow and say, you know what? We're done with them two things here. We're going to get rid of them now. And tomorrow morning, you'll see the UIC with bus all over the country, flyers everywhere, newsprint everywhere, buying the best media on social media. You see ads flying up in your face, left, right, and center on every media you go. You go TikTok it there, you go Facebook it there, you go YouTube it there. We have the power, but we are too foolish. We're waiting for a Messiah to come, and we're watching and thinking it must become big before we join. It will never become big, because those who want to keep Jamaica small have more than enough money to keep me down and to keep down the 200 of us who have been donated. They'll keep us down easily. But they can't keep down 500,000 away. They can't do it. And that's what I'm talking about.
Well, Mr. Patterson?
Yes.
I think you just made your point to the diaspora, okay?
Thank you, sir.
I have to go now. You just engage the diaspora. Okay?
All right. Thank you.
For that, I will thank you too.
Sorry, say that again?
For that, I will thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Appreciate it.
Okay.
And I thank you for being on tonight. I wish we had more time, but we kind of get to the end right now.
Yes,
but I appreciate the discourse. I thank you for the, it's 3 hours of your time, that you have. So you're a patriot yourself. You have invested 3 hours of your time.
I say patriots are the ones who committed to do those things, not that type of people. When you say who would do it,
yes.
I say patriot would do it.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
think that patriots would do it. So for that, as I said, you made your case. Took you a while to get here, but you made your case.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
All right, everyone online, I want to thank all of you here for being with us tonight. I see a lot of you commenting. Thanks for sharing the time with us. And our goal is to do what we need to do to move Jamaica forward. And I think tonight you have heard all kinds of things. and I hope it has helped you to appreciate where we need to go as a movement, as a people. And I want to thank especially Mr. Smith for putting up with my,
No. My job here, if you can't fight me, you can't fight the two parties. You understand?
Absolutely.
It's as simple as that. Because there's nothing I say that they didn't say.
Yep. That's
Thank
true.
you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good night. All the best. Everyone, take care. Thanks again, SOSOBONE.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.